More than 2,000 years ago, God sent his only begotten Son to be with us and announced the birth of our Lord and Savior. The humble, he said, I bring you news that will cause great joy for all of the people.
I finally figured out what Christmas is all about. Hear the sound.
Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord.
God Almighty, we're bowing down. And that's what Christmas is all about.
You will find a baby wrapped in clothes and lying in a
Hear
manger.
the sound. 1,000 angels are singing.
At Christmas, we thank God for sending us his Son to bring peace to our souls and joy to the world.
That's what Christmas is all about.
Welcome to the Christmas season here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Hope everybody had a blessed, safe, and very happy Thanksgiving. Everyone is all shoveled out over the snowy last couple of days of our vacation, and everybody is ready to rock and roll for another busy broadcast week. We have got 3 hours of unfiltered, unadulterated broadcast excellence for you today, or at the very least, and let's face it, far more likely broadcast competence. Coming up in 20 minutes, we will talk with conservative Wisconsin Supreme Court candidate Maria Lazar after the left-wing Wisconsin Supreme Court put together two reliably left-wing partisan judicial panels with the express goal of overturning Wisconsin's duly drawn congressional maps and gerrymandering them in favor of Democrats to make it impossible for either Congressman Derek Van or Republican in Western Wisconsin or Wisconsin to win re-election. Also, Politico out with a big article over the weekend. Why is it so difficult for Republicans to win court elections? They are nonpartisan races, of course, but come on. The left has known for years that these are the most partisan things in the world. After all, Janet Protasewicz 2 years ago spent the entire campaign telling voters exactly how she is going to rule on various issues. Is it time for conservatives to start playing the exact same game? We will ask Judge Lazar exactly that. Of course, coming up at the end of this hour, the unhinged liberal of the day. Today's unhinged liberal thinks Republicans would do unspeakable things to the baby Jesus. This, ladies and gentlemen, is who the modern left is. Daily Trump date coming up as President Trump set to sign a law. Also, the administration defending itself. Democrats, after a week of saying that military members need to violate illegal orders, but being unable to identify any illegal orders, now think they've got an illegal order. We will get into that. Plus, the fallout from the breaking news that we were covering before we went on Thanksgiving break. 2 National Guard soldiers shot. One, unfortunately, did pass away on Thanksgiving Day after a Biden asylee from Afghanistan who was not properly vetted. The administration back then told us, oh, yes, all of the 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 Afghan asylees or refugees were properly vetted. Well, this one was not. And now a National Guard soldier is dead and another one is recovering from very, very critical injuries after being shot while on patrol in Washington, D.C. And now we have organized opposition to data centers coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. We will once again try to inject some reason and logic into what has become an incredibly emotional debate over whether Wisconsin should have any data centers at all in it. All right, if you want to join the Dan O'Donnell Show at any point on today's program, 414-799-1130 is our AdventNows.com talk and text line. Reach us toll free, 1-800-839-9476. Email me directly, dod@iheartmedia.com. And a reminder, dod@iheartmedia.com is the only way that you can submit your kids' or your grandkids' entries for the Dan O'Donnell Show Family Christmas Special. We got a ton of them over Thanksgiving weekend. The deadline is a week from Friday. We cannot take any entries after December 12th, and we are only going to be able to guarantee that the first 50 entries are going to make this show, just because we always get a ton of them, and I need to make sure that we are able to accommodate everybody, and we're trying to get as many kids in as humanly possible, but we can only guarantee first 50 submissions are going to make the program. So do not delay. Record your kids playing a Christmas song on their musical instruments, singing a Christmas carol if you are the conductor of a school or church orchestra or band or a choir, chorus, that sort of thing. Send me your entries. Please try to keep them to 2 minutes or less. They can be video or audio. Please include the child or children's names, ages, and hometown. We are probably not going to do any last names for sadly obvious reasons, because we don't want to invite anybody, whatever. I don't even want to go there, but we just, for legal reasons, we don't use, unless we absolutely have to, or there's a reason to, use the kid's last name. So please understand, they're not going to be on video. It's audio only. You can submit in total confidence. This is our 6th year doing this, 5th year that we have invited members of our listener family to join my family. Yes, the kids, even though they're a bit older, they are, much to their chagrin, still going to be forced to play their violins. My nieces, my nephew, they're going to be playing the piano. It is going to be a great show. It premieres December 23rd at 4 p.m. and then we'll then play Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. All right, be sure to follow the Dan O'Donnell Show on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, streaming live on YouTube, and of course, we do exist as a daily podcast. Follow us, like us, thumbs up us, give us a big old heart or poop emoji if you feel so inclined on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to podcasts. Big article in Politico. The next big battleground test, a Wisconsin race that has tortured Republicans. Republicans are looking to recover after bruising electoral losses in November, are sharply divided over one of the next big electoral tests, a statewide judicial race in battleground Wisconsin. And some Republicans in the state are already at odds over how to try to reverse a big losing streak. Embrace the Republican Party brand, Trump and all, or try to separate as much as possible from a partisan label in a throwback bid to less contentious judicial contests. Gone are the days of conservative candidates successfully selling electorates on vague notions of jurisprudence and the rule of law. This dissonance comes as Republicans contend with the built-in disadvantages that these days accompany spring elections. They're facing voters who have leaned significantly to the left in recent years, despite razor-thin margins in November elections and a win for Trump by less than a point in 2024. And Democrats, they say, have excelled at drawing their base to the polls. So that was just kind of a brief synopsis of a lengthy article that quotes a number of different people in and around the Republican Party. It includes a quote from Lazar herself, her campaign spokesperson, and the basic conceit is that everybody is at odds as to how conservatives can reverse the losing streak that has vexed them since alleged conservative Brian Hagedorn won what eventually became obvious to be a Pyrrhic victory in 2019. That was the last time even a half conservative, or I would consider Hagedorn to be maybe a 40% conservative, won a judicial race statewide in Wisconsin. In 2020, during the infamous COVID election, Dan Kelly, the incumbent who was appointed by then Governor or former Governor Scott Walker and was running for a full 10-year term on the court, got absolutely trounced by now Chief Justice Jill Karofsky. 3 years later, Janet Protasewicz beat Kelly again, this time by an even bigger margin. Okay, conservatives reasoned, Kelly himself was the problem. He refused to make the 2023 election political. In fact, I can remember him sitting in this very studio and me begging him, Justice Kelly, you need to talk about the issues that Republican voters and conservative voters care about and will bring them out to the polls. He refused, saying, I'm not going to degrade the judicial profession, the legal profession, by violating the Code of Judicial Conduct and talking about how I would rule on a given case. I didn't say to do that. Nobody did, even though that was exactly what Protasewicz was doing. But Kelly lost and finally got political, finally got, frankly, angry in his concession speech, well after it was too late to actually win the race. 2 years later, Republicans and conservatives figured, okay, we'll nominate Brad Schimmel. And Brad is universally well respected, so respected that the Trump administration just named him to be interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Wisconsin last week. He was a county judge. He was state attorney general. He was Waukesha County district attorney. His resume was excellent. He was universally beloved in the party. He was political without being in your face about it. He lost by an even bigger margin than Dan Kelly did to new Justice Susan Crawford. Now, that race was unique because of the presence of Elon Musk. Democrats just abandoned all pretense of running against Brad Schimmel. They ran against Musk. They nationalized the race by, ironically enough, saying that Elon Musk was trying to buy the seat when they were getting multi-million-dollar donations from the governor of Illinois, as well as George Soros, as well as Reid Hoffman, the billionaire founder and Epstein Island vacationer, Playboy founder of LinkedIn. So that race, you might be able to write off as unique in its circumstances if it didn't come amid what I have been talking about for a long time, massive demographic changes that have crushed conservatives here in Wisconsin. The biggest reason that Republicans are not winning and conservatives are not winning in spring elections is because we no longer have the high propensity voters who are going to turn out for every single election, no matter who is on the ballot. Years ago, Democrats had this exact same problem. They would win Wisconsin relatively easily in every presidential election year until 2016. The last Republican to win Wisconsin in a presidential race was Ronald Reagan in 1984 when he won 49 of 50 states. But Republicans and conservative candidates would dominate Supreme Court races. Why? Because their coalition of voters looked much different. They had, especially after 9/11, these so-called national defense moms or soccer moms, security moms, if you will. When Trump came to power, he alienated a whole lot of those women who were further pushed to the left by the Supreme Court's decision in Jackson Women's Health, which overturned Roe v. Wade. Democrats were able to convince them that Republicans want to take control over women's bodies. Those two things cost Republicans the high propensity suburban woman vote. And we have had to, as a result, cobble together a coalition of rural and minority inner city voters to replace them here in the state that are much less reliable when the president himself is not on the ballot. You also have a massive problem of what is known as the only Trump voter. who is not a Republican, not an ideological conservative, but rather more of a pure populist who likes President Trump, likes the fact that he was the outsider candidate even when he was running as an incumbent president in 2020 and former president in 2024. They like the fact that he was essentially running against the political system that they despise. The problem is now trying to run candidates within that system who will also be able to appeal to those voters. It has become incredibly difficult. So how exactly is Judge Lazar going to do that? We'll ask her. Judge Maria Lazar, conservative Supreme Court candidate, joins me next right here on The Dan O'Donnell Show.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Julia owed the IRS thousands.
I was paralyzed with.
Then
I heard a commercial for Optima Tax Relief.
Optima Tax is the leading tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and experts in the Fresh Start Initiative.
Optima Tax Relief settled my IRS tax bill.
Call Optima now for a free consultation.
It was amazing.
Call 800-926-0155. 800-926-0155.
Optima Tax Relief.
Visit OptimaTaxRelief.com for details.
Someone you love is horribly injured. Sign and settle lawyers should scare you more than blocking Clay Matthews on a Klingon battle cruiser. Insurance companies value your claim based on the quality of your law firm. Settlement Mills Investigating Your Injuries is a lawyer who never tried a case looking at police reports. With Warshawski in your corner, our own investigator will be on the way to record the scene of your injury, interview witnesses usually within minutes of your call. It's not uncommon for me to document and preserve evidence police officers did not see as significant. Meticulous examination of physical evidence, all documentation, and every medical record makes certain nothing is missed. Warshawski will show how your losses could have been prevented and exactly why they were not. Insurance companies are risk adverse. Warshawski's unique skills make record cash settlements possible. And when settlement is not forthcoming, your best outcome at trial. Injured, it is about the money. Warshawski.com.
Do you own a small business? A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get super sure. Coming soon.
Tracy, why are you wearing those ridiculous running shoes?
It's the deadline dash, Jason. The federal HVAC tax credits are expiring December 31st. Everyone will be racing to get their new furnace and air conditioner installed.
You're right. The clock is ticking and the equipment must be installed by the end of 2025.
Exactly. And the savings are real. The tax credit for a new heat pump alone is up to $2,000.
Call today and we'll help you get your installation scheduled in 2025 so you don't miss out on all of the savings.
Call CapitalCares.com.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your number one preset on our free iHeartRadio app. Powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
Opinion, emotion, passion. This is News Talk 1130 WISN.
Christmas from all of us here at the Dan O'Donnell Show on this, the first day of Advent. I can tell you what conservatives' Christmas wish is this year, and that is obviously a win in the gubernatorial race, attorney general race, and a hold in the Wisconsin legislature during the midterm elections next November. But before that, we have perhaps an even more important race. I have been talking about the importance of the Wisconsin Supreme Court for as long as I have been on the air here. And it's apparently fallen on deaf ears because conservatives, as noted in a big article in Politico over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, have been unable to win these races. Why is that? And can conservative candidate Maria Lazar reverse that streak? I thought, let's ask her herself. On the phone right now here on the Dan O'Donnell Show is appellate court judge and Supreme Court candidate Maria Lazar. Maria, can you win?
Absolutely. And in fact, Dan, I intend to.
Well, I love that confidence. But can we really trust somebody who couldn't even get her stove to work on Thanksgiving?
That I blame on my stove, and actually we grilled like the Pilgrims did with filet and scallops.
So you literally didn't have a stove on Thanksgiving. You just went outside and went over an open fire.
Actually, that's very much chance to do things a different way, and actually we used our grill, not open fire.
Okay. You know, I think that's going to make a great story one day. So, too, will be the incredible upset win that you have over Chris Taylor. I mean, I know you're listening to the pundits. I know you are reading the articles in Politico and that sort of thing. And I hate what I call the Eeyores in the conservative movement who are just constantly doom and gloom. Oh, well, we're going to lose again. But the reality is, you are considered something of a pretty big underdog in this race. How do you confront that conception and get conservatives energized about your candidacy and about Supreme Court elections more generally?
Well, first of all, as being the underdog, I am absolutely my entire career used to being underestimated by maybe the other men, the other lawyers in the room. They don't expect someone who talks softly, who knows what they're doing to win and beat them, but I do. So in this race, it's going to be the same thing. I'm entirely 100% optimistic. We have an entirely different ball game. It is completely different. I've listened to, I've read the Political article. First of all, did you expect anything but doom and gloom from them? So in this case, I've also listened to the voters in the state of Wisconsin and made a promise I'm not going to hire candidates who've run, but I'm telling you that the Marquette poll and all the voters have told me they want to hear where we stand. Now, that doesn't mean they want to hear the unethical, hey, vote for me and I'm going to reverse this or reverse that.
We call that the Protasewicz. That's a very slick move. You just sort of violate every existing code of judicial conduct and say exactly how you're going to rule. And apparently, the judicial board will allow you to do it. So you could pull a Protasewicz if you wanted.
Well, and I'm not going to call it that, but I am going to say that I don't have to do that, and I'm not going to do that. In fact, I'm going to stand up and do what I think judicial candidates should have been doing in this state, which is tell you where I stand and what I stand up for and what rights I've protected and where my position is on all of them. So my campaign and I have started writing posts and position papers on different issues that have come up. We wrote the first one, coincidentally or serendipitously, on redistricting, but expect to see religious freedom, abortion, I'm going to hit that, Second Amendment, censorship, etc. So it's just as important. I think our past candidates have tied their hands behind their back and have not said where they stand and have used this sort of glorified, I don't have to do that, I'm a judge. I'm not doing that. I don't intend to do that. I've never done that. And I'm going to tell people where and what I stand for. And in fact, I actually go around the state now, and that's the first thing the second thing I tell them. The first thing I say is, I'm going to change things. It's going to be very different. And the first is that I'm going to win. The second is I'm going to tell you where I stand. And the third is I'm going to explain to you precisely why this campaign is different.
How is it different?
This campaign is different because I am going out to every single group and talking to them. I'm not giving up on anyone. I know that sounds cliche, but I'm also talking to groups that didn't exist a few years ago, Turning Point. I'm working with them. I'm working with the young Republicans, college Republicans. I'm talking to Republican and conservative moms who've given up on the parties, but are more than eager to listen to a woman who stands up and can say things on issues that everyone runs away from, like abortion. I'm talking to different areas of this state. I am not a candidate who is out there saying that I'm running as a politician. I'm not. I'm also running against a politician, and one that I think every single voter in the state of Wisconsin is tired of being lectured to by 4 nanny judges who are sitting on the state Supreme Court, who get all the money that they can get from all these little groups outside of the state of Wisconsin to tell everyone here that they know better than all of us.
And the biggest thing that they have done pretty much all year, which could actually have national implications, is last week, of course, on a shortened holiday week, they announced that they themselves are not going to review the congressional maps that were given a clean bill of health by the United States Supreme Court, as well as the Wisconsin Supreme Court. But they appointed 2 separate panels of radical left-wing Democrat appointed affiliated judges to review the congressional maps with the obvious purpose of gerrymandering them in favor of Democrats. Now, this is rather obviously going to give a huge boost to your opponent in fundraising. In fact, the last liberal candidate, one of the 4 justices that signed on to this opinion, Susan Crawford, actually attended an event which was explicitly designed for donors to, quote, put 2 seats in Congress in play. This is precisely what they were telling you during the last campaign they were going to do. Judge Lazar, your reaction, since your first policy paper is going to be on redistricting, your reaction to what the Supreme Court did last week?
Well, first of all, I already published the piece on redistricting. It's been out there for about 2 or 3 weeks. But my reaction is, well, one, I'm not surprised. This court has acted like a star chamber. They put their position out again, and put their order out, I should say, again, right before a holiday. They did it last time before Christmas.
Yep.
It's a court that I was on up front. I talked to people about my positions, followed the next week by Chief Justice Karofsky, who told everyone in the state the quiet part out loud. She said that this Supreme Court is going to act now like they have a mandate, which is a political term, not a judicial term, and that they don't want to carry the water anymore for right-wing special interest groups. So that's what they're doing. They've decided that they picked these 6 judges. 2 of them have endorsed Chris Taylor, my opponent. They selected them in secret. The other justices had no idea how they did it. They're putting them together to overrule a state Supreme Court. Now, I know sometimes people get a little bit concerned when you talk about legal issues, but here's a really easy one. So you have state circuit courts who have their superior court being the Court of Appeals, which I'm on, and then the Court of Appeals has its superior court, as for the circuit courts, the Supreme Court. As a Court of Appeals judge, I cannot overturn the Supreme Court. As a circuit court judge, you cannot overturn a Court of Appeals or Supreme Court judge.
Right.
So, as I think you said, Dan, that the Supreme Court is tired of getting smacked down. I don't think you used those words.
Oh, I did.
By the U.S. Supreme Court. So now they're throwing it down to 6,
Yep.
2 panels of 3 on the circuit court, so they can do this. They can act, and they can overturn the state Supreme Court, which has already approved maps drawn by Tony Evers,
right, and
have been upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court. It is, as former Chief Justice Ziegler said, a charade. These are shenanigans. This is judicial activism at its worst. Now, if Chris Taylor, my opponent, gets up there, she's not only going to do the same thing, she'll do even more because she is a hardcore politician.
Not only that, she's a radical left-wing politician whose core instincts are to simply rule on things that the Democratic Party wants ruled on. Would it surprise you, Judge Lazar, to see this court overturn Act 10 before the election? Because that case has been pending before them for, the better part of a year now. Do you believe that they are likely to overturn Act 10 and thus the billions of dollars in annual savings to taxpayers?
Well, I can answer that in two parts. One, they will not issue an opinion, in my view, on Act 10 or any other politically interested case before this election.
I think you're right.
That will not.
Yep.
As to what they're going to do on Act 10, I have no idea. I mean, I don't know. I listened to their oral argument on that 400-year tax increase by Tony Evers, Frankenstein veto. And I will tell you, Dan, I listened to their oral argument. I thought there was no way even the Ford majority were going to uphold that. And they did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know what they'll do with Act 10. I think it's a reason why everyone in the state should be very, very concerned. And they should be looking not at, how can we, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, but they've got the majority to do what they want to do with Act 10. Even when I win this election in April, it's not going to change.
No, but that your election is still important, because if they get a 5-2 majority, we're talking about the next quarter century of asinine rulings like the 400-year veto, like redistricting after the Wisconsin Supreme Court has already signed off on the state legislative maps. But because we have a new court, all of a sudden we're just going to do it again like they're trying to do right now with the congressional maps. I mean, you're going to see that literally for the next 2 to 3 decades, potentially, if they get a 5-2 majority.
I agree. And the funny thing is, I could sit here and I could tell you some cases where I think they would jump in and do the same thing. But for heaven's sakes, I'm not giving them any ideas whatsoever.
Yeah, that's probably smart. Now, the one good thing that we do have as conservatives in the state right now is this court is exceptionally lazy. They take up very, very few cases compared to prior courts, but the ones that they take up are specifically designed to radically change the state in a way that the other two branches of government could not or would not. Judge Lazar, I've got to tell you, I was very critical of your campaign in its early stages because it sounded like you were not going to take on these issues. May I say, I like the new no turkey dinner on Thanksgiving, Maria Lazar. I don't know if it was the stove going out that turned you into based Maria Lazar, but I am loving based Maria Lazar.
I will take that. It wasn't that. If you'd gone out on the campaign trail with me, you would hear me telling every group except for one time when I made a mistake and didn't tell how I was going to stand on positions. But I'm telling everyone what I stand on and what I will do, what I stand up for as a judge.
Hey, thank you for doing that. Keep it going. We'd love to have you on as often as you want to come on and talk about what it is you stand for and how you are different from your opponent. I really do appreciate it. And by the way, Merry Christmas to you. Happy belated Thanksgiving. And I hope the Christmas feast goes better than the Thanksgiving one.
But I think we aren't going to do a big Christmas feast because I'll probably be out talking to everyone in Wisconsin.
All right. She is Maria Lazar. Check out her campaign. I believe it is judgelazar.com. Now I'm totally second guessing myself. Just Google Maria Lazar, Lazar. It is judgemarialazar.com. judgemarialazar.com. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. It is conservative thought, not just talk, and we will be right back to it before you know it. Attention parents, hear your kids sing a Christmas carol or play one on their musical instruments on the radio. It's the Dan O'Donnell Show Family Christmas Special premiering December 23rd. Just send a video or audio clip 2 minutes or less to DOD@iHeartMedia.com. Be sure to provide a name, age, and where you're from. We can only guarantee the first 50 entries will make the show. The deadline to submit is December 12th. So send those videos or audio files today to DOD@iHeartMedia.com.
I'm Total Health's Jay Johnson, the Falls and New Berlin. Seed oils, the number one source of calories in American diets, developed as engine fuel in industrial lubricants, only ended up in the food supply for profit. Seed oils cause arthritis, heart disease, metabolic syndrome, stroke, type 2 diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, and chronic illness. Medical doctors prescribe dozens of pharmaceuticals for life to treat symptoms of those diseases. Why don't they tell you to stop consuming poison? I'll tell you why. You sick is profitable. At Total Health, we teach eliminating seed oils from your diet improves true health and how you feel. Total Health finds the root cause of your fatigue, weight gain, brain fog, sleeplessness, then works with you, the whole you, eliminating symptoms and the chronic disease causing those symptoms. It's not theory. Relativity equals expertise plus execution is true. Total Health's holistic practitioners utilize proven science to help you feel and truly be the most helpful and well you. TotalHealthInc.com. That's TotalHealthInc.com.
We're the Libby family.
At Do-It-Yourself Bathroom Center near State Fair on 62nd and Greenfield.
Bathrooms and kitchens are our specialty.
We use real cabinets and quartz tops to make beautiful rooms you will love for many, many years.
And our experts really know their stuff.
Remember our slogan,
I did it myself at Do-It-Yourself.
Snow's on the ground. Lights are all bright. The holidays are filled with delight. But what makes it all worthwhile? Presents that make everyone smile. It's easier than it may seem to find gifts that make their eyes gleam. They're available already round town. And what is it each year that makes gifting so easy? It's the Holiday Scratch Games from Wisconsin Lottery. Prices go from 1 to 20 and pack to choose from. Well, then, what different games to give with instant win prizes to add to the fun. Never very far from where you live. So easy as that, your shopping is done. To give to the folks you're looking to shop for, or those you recall at the last minute, and sure to the one you simply adore. For all, the smiles are sure to hit. An easy gift is always near to make sure you're spreading holiday cheer. It's the Holiday Scratch Games from Wisconsin Lottery. Please gift responsibly.
For superior carpet cleaning, hire a company with over 75 years of experience that will get the job done right the first time. Always clean, always on time. Edelman.
Edelman Carpet, Furniture, and Drapery Cleaning.
It's Edelman again. Edelman.
Do you own a small business? A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get super sure.
I'm Ryan Harrison, owner of Ryan Waterproofing. If it seems rain hangs around home coming down as insidiously delicate droplets, or in buckets, and if neither, rain tends to lurk suspiciously in the atmosphere around your house, you probably have a wet, mildewy, leaky basement with cracked walls. No basement wall or foundation repair is too big or small for Ryan Waterproofing. We won't be the most expensive. The larger the job, the more you'll save with Ryan. We've eliminated bowed walls, cracks, spalling, seepage, and flooding in Coast Guard stations, museums, and countless Wisconsin homes. Ryan's waterproofing experts show up on time and do exactly what we say we're going to do, eliminating your water problems, restoring your home, even ending your negative obsession with rain. Imagine looking out the window for rainbows rather than obsessing about your basement, walls, and floors next time, every time it rains. Free estimates, affordable financing. Because praying for drought is overrated. Ryan Waterproofing, call Ryan.com. That's callRION.com.
What can Everlast Structures do for us?
The neighbors had Everlast build a hobby building for them. John said they designed the building so that their camper and boat will fit inside, and enough room inside that his wife has an office space incorporated into the design. With a climate control package and have heated concrete floors. There's even a bathroom in their building.
With all that extra space, we can finally get organized.
Now, I'll give Everlast Structures a call right now.
Need more storage, a place for your hobbies, or a year-round climate-controlled utility building? We are Wisconsin's top post frame builder with over 15 years of experience in the post frame and residential construction industry. Our expertise lies in designing, supplying, and building your project seamlessly. We listen to our customers, understanding their goals goals and requirements while thinking about the future. Our post-frame structures are not only built for your current needs, but engineered for tomorrow's evolving demands. Everlast structures are designed to enhance, built to endure. Call today to start your dream build with Everlast Structures.
We're giving Fleet Rewards members an extra 10% off all qualifying purchases. Now through Wednesday. No rebates, no waiting. Fleet Rewards members will save an extra 10% on any qualifying purchase, in-store and online. Not a member? Sign up now. Membership's free. Just have your member coupon ready Sunday, November 30th through Wednesday, December 3rd to save an additional 10% at Fleet Farm. It's our way of saying thank you for being a loyal customer. See store for details. Some restrictions apply.
Injured? Call Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Sunday, Bears, Packers, Lambeau Field. Coverage starts at 11, kick at 3:25. On 95.7 Big FM, WRIT. Presented by Robert Hack Diamonds. They buy gold, field or Greenfield.
Welcome back. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Yes, all Christmas bumper music from now until the big day, December 25th. Hope all you kids are getting your lists for Santa together, that you opened up the first door on your Advent calendar. It is an early Christmas here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. We had to say goodbye, unfortunately, to producer Jeff, who left the company, as he said he needed to get a real job. But we have the return of the first ever producer on the Dan O'Donnell Show, producer Armin, running the ship today, and he is going to be when producer Eric is unavailable on location for Discover Wisconsin or working on one of his other 15 gigs. So it is always great having Armin pushing the right buttons here. We also thank Judge Maria Lazar. JudgeMariaLazar.com is her website, as she is the conservative candidate challenging Chris Taylor, a Planned Parenthood employee and Democrat member of the Wisconsin Assembly, as well as now a judge who got herself appointed to the Dane County Circuit Court. Of course she did. What other court would have someone that far to the left? And then she ran unopposed for Court of Appeals seat, which she currently holds. TIPP and League of American Workers poll, registered voters released last week. Red voter means there is no follow-up question as to whether or not you're going to be deemed likely to vote in the upcoming gubernatorial election. You're just registered. They call you. They say, hey, who do you like in this race? Mandela Barnes is once again doubling up the field in the Democratic primary. Now, one thing that is notable in this race is that in second place, Barnes has 21%, but in second place, it's Josh Kaul with 8%. Why is that remarkable? Because Josh Kaul has already said that he is not going to run for governor. Instead, he is going to seek a third term as Attorney General. Basically, the first poll that was done by Platform Communications very early on this cycle, I believe mid-September, that poll came out, maybe late September, early October, that also showed Barnes with a massive lead, and I'm led to believe that it scared Kaul right out of the race. Barnes has not yet declared his candidacy. It was widely expected by Democrat sources that he was going to before the Thanksgiving holiday. He apparently has decided not to, or the party has maybe convinced him not to run. I think that's very unlikely. But there was a full court press when it became obvious that Barnes was going to run. Not to get him to do so because of what a bad candidate he was in 2022. And that was at the peak of the woke era, where Mandela Barnes' brand of racial and identity politics was actually far more palatable in Democrat circles than it is now. Now there has been such a reaction. There has been such a blowback to the excesses of the woke era that sort of culminated in Trump's reelection in 2024 that Democrats are trying to get away from that brand of identitarian politics that sort of doomed them in the last presidential election and get to more bread and butter economic issues. Now, over on the Republican side, Tom Tiffany has 17% of the vote to Josh Schoman's 5%. But the real story here is that the leader in this poll is Eric Hovde, who has not said anything about running for governor. He just happened to be the last Republican statewide nominee when he ran in 2024 unsuccessfully against Tammy Baldwin. Tim Michels clocks in at 12%, Kevin Nicholson at 2%. All of these are just past statewide candidates. The fact that the top two Democrat names in this poll are the last two Democrat statewide candidates who don't currently hold an office like Tammy Baldwin does, tells me that we are still in the phase of this campaign where these candidates are unknown to a massive swath of voters. This is a very good thing for Republicans. The one candidate who is likely to get in the race and is known to pretty much all voters, or at least a healthy percentage of voters, is Mandela Barnes. He was an unsuccessful candidate, meaning the vast majority of those voters who know who Mandeadbeat is are not going to vote for him because they have already made up their minds about him. It is very difficult to change the perception of you once the public has already passed judgment on you in an election. Eric Hovde, Tim Michels are almost certainly not going to run for the gubernatorial nomination. It is very likely to be Tom Tiffany. I like Josh Schoman a lot, but look, all of the signs are there, the money that's coming in, the endorsements, that sort of thing. It is probably going to be Tiffany's nomination to lose. The fact that Sarah Rodriguez and David Crowley are only able to get 6% each in this poll after struggling to get 6% in the last poll. Well, building on his lead because of his name recognition. This speaks volumes about where the electorate is, and I think this is undoubtedly a very good sign for Republicans heading into the 2026 gubernatorial race. The unhinged liberal of the day, a Christmas edition of it, coming up next.
From the place you want to go, Lynch McGuanago Traffic Center.
Emergency crews in West Milwaukee on the scene of a gas leak. It's in the 5200 block of Greenfield. Elsewhere, 4145 southbound, taking you about 18 minutes. Good Hope to the Zoo, northbound at 16. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. When you're trying to find quality candidates, all the searching, screening, and interviewing can become a job itself. You need Indeed, the all-in-one platform that makes it easy to interview, screen, and hire quality people. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
I'm Dave Brownsdorf, president of Flawless Flooring. Realtor.com says, depending on location and a few other factors, new hardwood floors add as much as 2.5% to a home sale value, even if you plan to sell. Enjoy home more now while increasing your sale price with Flawless's LVP, hardwood, or amazing, realistic, super wear-resistant modern laminate plank. Steamy wet dog and litter box aromas bother homeowners and buyers. But you say, Dave, we want the sound deadening and warmth underfoot of carpet? Our Delafield and New Berlin showrooms have countless style and combination flooring choices, including quality luxury carpet lines. Steamy stains and carpet stink, including pet fluids, wipe off Flawless Flooring's luxury vinyl plank and modern laminate plank, zero steam effortlessly. Our employee-only craftsmen meticulously refinish existing hardwood, even perfectly blending additional hardwood with existing. With Flawless's nothing down, zero interest financing, upgrade today and pay over 21 months. Sensory underload, Flawless Flooring. FlawlessFlooringLLC.com.
Things are going to be busy between now and the end of the year. Holiday gatherings, school functions for the kids, and family family get-togethers. Hi, it's Jay, and the last thing you want to worry about this holiday season is whether your roof is going to make it through another Wisconsin winter. Well, one call to Semperfi Roofing to schedule a free 21-point roof inspection will put your mind at ease. A highly trained roof inspector will carefully examine every inch of your roof, checking the 21 most common areas of roof failure, and then go over the results with you and discuss your options going forward. Most of the time, problems can be fixed with a minor repair, but if it is time for a new roof, Semperfi offers money-saving discounts and financing terms to make paying easy. And don't forget, Semperfi is so confident in their skilled installers, they offer a 50-year leak-free guarantee on every roof they install. 50 years. So call or go online to schedule your free 21-point roof inspection today. Call 262-600-2910, 262-600-2910, or online at semperfiroofing.com.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semperfi.
With the Planet Fitness Black Card, a friend anytime, and so much more when you join today. Stair Climb Park Climb. Enjoy a post-recovery massage and do any of our 2,700 plus convenient locations. So, you get all the perks with the PF Black. See Club for details.
Okay, Santa, pre-flight checklist time. Nice list?
Check.
Naughty list?
Check.
My shopping list?
Oh, bricks and spells.
All good. I've got the Meijer app right here. Okay, let's see. Sugar, spice.
Gingerbread is nice.
Gift cards, gift wrap. Ooh, Meijer even has fa la 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 low prices on stocking stuffers.
Oh, we can't forget batteries.
Good call, big guy. Order sent.
Just in the Saint Nick of time.
Bring more good to life with the seasonal savings at Meijer. You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. If you're living with a chronic condition like diabetes, chronic heart failure, or a cardiovascular disorder, you might count on extra support with your healthcare too. That's why United Healthcare offers chronic special needs plans with extra benefits and a large provider network to choose from. Visit uhc.com/Medicare to find out if you qualify today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Wisconsin can count on. Provider network may vary in local market.
What if I told you that 2026 could be the year when your body remembers how to heal? Just needs a little help finding its way back. Hey, I'm Benjamin Yont, and I want to talk to you once again about QC Kinetics. Dr. Ashley Caravelli and her team here at QC Kinetics in Milwaukee believe that relief doesn't have to come from surgery or pills. They use your body's own natural healing abilities to repair and restore what's been lost. They help you move. They help you live. They help you be pain-free. QC Kinetics treatments are powered by the very cells that built your body in the first place. That means no surgery, no pills, no long recovery, just your body remembering how to feel alive again. You can get long-term relief without any of the long-term recovery or more of those pills. Make the new year your turning point where your pain stops. It's time to take that first step and call QC Kinetics. Call them right now. 414-888-4387. 414-888-4387. That's QC Kinetics. 414-888-4387.
Forneri award-winning home renovating.
Christmas from all of us here at the Dan O'Donnell Show. It is time now to name a Christmas-themed edition of the Unhinged Liberal of the Day.
Make me crazy.
Trump is Hitler.
We are in pre-Nazi Germany. Make me crazy.
All white people are racist.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is dangerous because he's evil.
America is over.
Today's Unhinged Liberal of the Day is new Dan O'Donnell Show favorite, Jasmine Crockett, Democrat Congresswoman, who was on MSNBC over Thanksgiving weekend talking about what else, ICE deportations, and said she just is concerned about how Republicans would have treated little baby Jesus.
I just want to be clear. This is the party that says that, you know, they care so much about life until life actually shows up at their front door. And this is also the party that supposedly is about Christianity. And I just imagine what they would have done to a little baby Jesus. But that's a whole other issue.
Wait, what? Representative Crockett, your party would have aborted baby Jesus. Let's not get into a theological discussion here. You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show, and Jasmine Crockett is your unhinged liberal of the day. When we come back here on the program, the Daily Trump Date, we will get you caught up on all things going on at the White House today. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is firing back at liberal accusations of illegal orders to kill. That's coming up next here on the Dan O'Donnell Show.
All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the Annex Wealth Management Studios. Annex Wealth Management. Know the difference. Stay informed all day, every day on News Talk 1130 WISN. Milwaukee, an iHeartRadio station. Guaranteed human.
50 years, we're not done yet. Fox 6 meteorologist Stephanie Baricello.
We are watching another storm system that's primarily going to stay south of us, but it is going to bring in some light snow throughout our afternoon and evening, and there is the chance for some light accumulation here. It's going to have bigger impacts south of us, especially across northern Illinois and points towards the south. There's winter weather advisories in those areas, but even here locally, it is another chance for snow. So your afternoon, your evening commute, we may need to watch out still for some slushy or slippery conditions, especially with the fact that, there might still be some pavement that's not cleared from this weekend storm.
And yesterday was a record breaker at airports around the country.
The TSA reports screening 3.13 million airline passengers on the busiest day of the Thanksgiving travel season and what's expected to be the busiest day of the year. November 30th, breaking the record set June 22nd, when 3.09 million passengers were screened. That's even with cancellations and delays caused by a winter storm in the Midwest and the brief recall of some A320 Airbus jets for a software fix. The top 10 busiest airport days of all time in the U.S. have all been this or last year. Chris Foster, Fox News.
Fox's Chris Foster, checking the holiday automotive of Fond du Lac Sports Scoreboard. Monday Night Football tonight's the Giants and Patriots in Foxborough. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Dave Michaels on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
From the Odoo.com Weather Center. Odoo.com, the only business software you need.
Light snow returns this afternoon and evening with an inch or so possible from Milwaukee southward, less farther to the north. Cold tonight with lows in the teens. Staying chilly on Tuesday with temperatures in the 20s, then windy Wednesday with another chance of light snow. I'm Fox 6 meteorologist Stephanie Baricello.
This report is sponsored by Grand Appliance. Shop this cyber sale at Grand Appliance for the lowest prices and up to $2,600 in additional savings on LG purchases exclusively at Grand. Visit grandappliance.com or your local showroom for details. That's Grand Appliance. Appliance expert since 1930.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes and we'll start this month's book club.
I usually love a plot twist, but this year I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Julia owed the IRS thousands.
I was paralyzed with fear.
Then
I heard a commercial for Optima Tax Relief.
Optima Tax Relief is the leading tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and experts in the Fresh Start Initiative.
Optima Tax Relief settled my IRS tax bill.
Call Optima now for a free consultation.
It was amazing.
Call 800-926-0155. 800-926-0155.
Optima Tax Relief.
Visit OptimaTaxRelief.com for details.
Bob from Redefined Realty here. I'd written my own ads for 20 years.
Creative genius.
Here.
Same. Well, Inet's ads and 100 other businesses' ads.
Writing your own ads, you kind of get stuck repeating the same message. Different words, but the same perspective.
Before introducing Easy Home Bidder, Bob came to Inet to brand his brainchild, MLS Listing backed by auction. It's brilliant. MLS guarantees the home is found. Auction guarantees the highest sale price. period.
iNet branded it, wrote our story, knocked our marketing out of the park. When you think of selling your home, you know MLS and auction together is the right choice.
Redefined also benefits from unparalleled radio buying power, industry influence, and extracurricular enhancement of being part of the iNet community. More than 1,000 businesses working together for each other's successes.
Websites, branding, design, video, and radio. iNet is improving the economy one business at a time.
iNetDishweb.com.
CreativeGeniusMarketing.com.
Buyers, sellers, real estate for winners. RedefinedRealty.com.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 255368.
At Wisconsin's own Accunet Mortgage, our closing costs are typically $1,000 to $3,000 less than the banks or the mortgage guys with the Rocket for exactly the same rate. Find out how much you can save at ACCUNET.com.
Celebrate Nice 80th anniversary and save big on the tools you need now through December 6th during Nice Tool Days sale. Save $100 on the DeWalt 2-piece drill and impact kit and get free 2-pack of 5-amp batteries. Buy a Makita 2-battery starter kit for $199.99 and get a bonus select tool up to a $269.99 value. Or get a Bosch 10-inch table saw or 12-inch glide miter saw, only $599.99. Shop these great deals and more at Nice. Tool vendors on site Friday, December 5th, 8 to 5. Nice, Highways 41, 45, and Q in Menominee Falls. Visit NEUSHardware.com for details.
Hi, this is Dave Spano, CEO of Ants Wealth Management. As we head towards the new year, I want to extend gratitude to our listeners and to our clients. Thank you for your trust, your partnership, and the conversations we get to have every day. From all of us at Annex, we wish you and your family a safe, joyful, and meaningful holiday season.
Investment and retirement planning, along with tax and estate strategies. Get financially organized for the new year. Click Get Started at AnnexWealth.com.
BlueMountainExpress.com. We will improve your move.
Statewide.
More than 2,000 years ago, God sent His only begotten Son to be with us. An angel announced the birth of our Lord and Savior to humble shepherds. He said, I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all of the people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord.
God Almighty, we're bowing down, and that's what Christmas is all about.
You will find a baby wrapped in clothes and lying in a manger.
The sound, 1,000 angels are singing.
At Christmas, we thank God for sending us His Son to bring peace to our souls and joy to the world.
That's what Christmas is all about.
That song, one of my absolute favorites. It is Owl City and Toby Mac, the great Christian artist, with Light of Christmas. We have a number of different Christmas opens that we will be rotating throughout this holiday season. Of course, all Christmas bumper music. And in case you are wondering what some of those songs are, we do have a Dan O'Donnell Show Christmas bumper music playlist up on Spotify. Just check it out on Spotify. Yeah, I know. I'd love to do it on iHeartRadio, but for whatever reason, I cannot get this. Has been my years-long crusade to try to get a free iHeartMedia Premium or iHeartRadio Premium account. They will not give it. I tried to get it written into my last contract, and they said it was either that or health insurance. No, I'm kidding. 414-799-11th. Join the Dan Show point on our AdventNews.com talk and text line. You can also reach us toll free, 1-800-838-9476. Email me anytime, DOD@iHeartMedia.com. Be sure to get those submissions in for the 2025 Dan O'Donnell Show Family Christmas Special. By my count, we have already got, I want to say 20-some. And we can only guarantee that the first 50 are going to make the show. Yes, we'll likely have way more than 50 kids performing, but I just want to make sure that we've got enough time. Last year, we had so many entries, and I love it, that we actually had to kind of finesse. We had to do different versions of the Christmas special that would air at different times on Christmas Eve and Christmas. I'd really prefer not to do that again. Everybody who submits will make the podcast, but for the radio show, because of the constraints of time, we are only going to be able to limit it to, it's usually about 60 to 70 performances. So that's why I'm saying only the top 50. No, I shouldn't say top 50. I should not say top 50. It is, this is not, you don't have to audition. There's no skill requirement or anything like that. We want the joy of Christmas, the light of Christmas is children sharing their gifts with the world. And this is what we want to do here on the Dan O'Donnell Show, whether it's singing a song or even if it's just sharing a greeting. We will play those two coming back from commercial breaks. Like, hi, this is John from Wauwatosa. I'm 5 years old and I just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. Record your kid doing that. Be part of the show. Send all those entries to DOD@iHeartMedia.com. And I'll tell you what, folks, it makes my Christmas every single year to hear your kids perform. I get so excited. Yes, I get super stressed out putting the show together because I stupidly try to do it all myself. But it's like, I mean, imagine all of the stresses of the holidays that you have, wrapping presents, buying everything and all that. And then add to that, putting on a radio show that needs a whole ton of editing and coordinating, 100 different musical performances. But it is a labor of love. And what gets me in the Christmas spirit, truly, every single year is listening to your kids and grandkids, watching the videos, the little smile after they get done performing, and almost every kid does it. It is the most beautiful thing in the world. They'll give a little smile like, was that good? And I'm just like, oh yeah, buddy, that was awesome. Just, I love it. I love it. There is truly nothing like kids at Christmas time. Producer Armin, you have a daughter who is, 2 years old now?
Hey, Dan, she's 17 months next week.
17?
Yeah, the time is flying.
Oh my goodness. 17 months now. So she's still too young to really know who Santa is, right? I mean, you could explain it to her, but can she say Santa yet?
She can't say it yet. I think she's starting to understand that this guy in the red suit's important for some reason or another when he's plastered all over the house in one way, form, or another.
I love it.
She's very curious about the chimneys. So maybe that's why.
I think, you know what? I bet you it is. I'm telling you, little kids, they understand way more than we give them credit for. So I want, as soon as she is able to talk, as soon as she is able to sing, I want her performing on the Dan O'Donnell Show Family Christmas Special. A reminder, follow us on social media at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, on Facebook, on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube and the Dan O'Donnell Show podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever it is you listen to podcasts.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning.
Trump just keeps winning.
It is a win for the administration.
It's also a big win for the United States.
We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Time now for your daily Trump date. A look at all of the things going on in Donald Trump's Washington. White House press briefing today. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt placing the blame for the shooting of two National Guard soldiers, one of whom passed away, a 20-year-old woman, both from West Virginia, the day before Thanksgiving last week. She's placing the blame squarely on the shoulders of the Biden administration because this was a clearly unvetted Afghan refugee who had terrorist motivations.
The terrorist who gunned down American soldiers blocks away from the White House in an ambush was an Afghan national who was flown into our country by Joe Biden's administration in September 2021 in the chaotic wake of their botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, one of the most embarrassing moments in the history of our great country. Joe Biden's historic failure in Afghanistan continues to haunt this country and our men and women in uniform. Not only did this surrender lead to a suicide bombing that killed 13 American heroes in Kabul, but now National Guard troops were shot on U.S. soil by the same kind of enemy. We continue to live with the deadly consequences of Joe Biden's horrific leadership.
We certainly do. And this is just yet another reason why Biden's parole program, his refugee resettlement program, were such thorough and unmitigated disasters for this country, because it's impossible to vet that many people, to let alone all of the people who are just flooding across our completely unprotected southern border. As President Trump was famously quoted as saying, you didn't need new laws, you just needed a new president, because now nobody is getting in illegally and being allowed to stay in this country as they were under Biden. Now, Levitt followed up on President Trump's Thanksgiving message on Truth Social, promising to restrict immigration, both legal and illegal, even further.
In the wake of last week's atrocity, it is more important than ever to finish carrying out the president's mass deportation operation. America cannot allow millions upon millions of unvetted illegal aliens to be rewarded with amnesty after they broke our nation's laws to come here. They must go back to their home countries. It is also essential to immediately address the massive fraud and corruption that has been going on for decades in other aspects of our immigration system, most notably when it comes to asylum claims. Millions of people who have come here under false pretenses are told blatant lies, now enjoy temporary legal status. President Trump is ending this scam as well, and I would point out that the Democrats have tried to block this administration from doing so at every turn with lawsuit after lawsuit.
They have, and we are going to get into the disaster that has had in Minnesota, where a massive Somali refugee population has engaged in some of the worst social benefit fraud this country has ever seen, and they're doing so to fund a terror network, all while Tim Walz, the hapless governor of this state, sits by and allows it to happen. Now, Levitt was, of course, also asked about the controversy du jour over Thanksgiving weekend, and that was the apparent order given by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth on September 2nd to, quote, finish off survivors of a droned boat strike out of Venezuela. Levitt was asked specifically whether that was an illegal order. Remember, the so-called seditious six were accused of, well, fomenting an insurrection or incitement to insubordination by saying that members of the military should not obey illegal orders. She was specifically asked, hey, is this one of those illegal orders?
I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strike in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over.
We will get into this in greater idea that somehow the president and the Secretary of War have issued illegal orders. Coming up later this hour here on the Dan O'Donnell Show, that, ladies and gentlemen, is your daily Trump date. We now check in with Dave Spano, the CEO of Annex Wealth Management, as we do each and every Monday at this time to help you know the difference. And Dave, as we begin the final month of 2025, we are seeing some really good economic indicators on the ground, aren't we?
See, the spending is up, Dan, with that we saw from the just recent spending. And so you look at it and you go, that is good. The tax bill is in place. The Federal Reserve certainly looks like they're going to cut rates. A new Fed chairman is coming forward, and growth rates, and the number you're probably talking about, is expected to be up 13% next year in a GDP of 5. All of that is really good news, Dan. However, we're headed into a midterm election next year, and this is going to be part of the conversation.
It certainly is, and it's looking right now. And people always get on me when I talk about generic ballot and presidential approval ratings at this point in a campaign cycle. They say, well, Dan, it's not generic Democrats and generic Republicans running against each other. What can you really take away from these polls a little bit less than a year out from the midterms? Well, what I always counter with that is this is the point at which these numbers and these generic polls start to get very highly predictive, meaning that you can start to see what the electorate is going to look like, and you can kind of guesstimate, give or take, the number of seats that the party in power is going to lose. And invariably, it does happen. The party that controls the White House usually loses, and usually loses a significant number of House seats. Now, Republicans are widely expected to hold the Senate just because of the states in which there are vacancies and the states in which there are incumbent senators that are up for re-election. The map very heavily favors Republicans this time around. But in the House, we're looking at substantial losses. And that's not necessarily a terrible thing for the markets. It's a terrible thing on policy, I believe, anytime Democrats are in power anywhere in this country. But divided government is not necessarily the worst thing for the markets or for the economy writ large.
Well, you look at it and have to say, for example, and take the political end out of it, the Republicans over the last so many elections have lost seats. You can go back to Eisenhower, Nixon, Reagan, Trump 1, Trump 2, Bush. They have all lost seats at the midterm. So that is not something that is unusual. What is unusual is how thin the electorate is at this point. You have to go back to the Civil War, Dan, to see a thin majority at 218, 213. Yeah. Now remember, Marjorie Taylor Greene announcing her retirement on January 5th, and you have a couple of special elections in Texas and New Jersey. So it's going to be even thinner as they go into the midterm elections. So whatever that number is, and as you said, they begin to get predictive. And if it's 16 or 20 or even 40 seats, that generally says that the Democrats will be in charge of the House and therefore the purse. And that is the reason why the markets pay attention to that. But that's why I led with all of the good news that I led with. The tax bill is signed. The Federal Reserve looks like they're going to cut. The new Fed chairman, about 80% chance that's going to be Hassett at this point. Growth is expected to be up, and so is GDP. That might mitigate the losses to some extent, but I think your listeners should know that as you head into those midterms, there probably will be a change of power at the House, and therefore the market will react with some bit of volatility between now and the elections. What happens after the elections is generally pretty good if you have divided government.
Yeah, because there aren't any real big policy swings one way or another, generally speaking, and there's a bit more consistency because there's partisan gridlock. What I would add, though, is that it's almost certain the second Democrats take control of the House again, they're going to impeach Trump again. I mean, they're just going to do constant impeachment, constant government shutdowns. I would not be shocked if Democrats in the Senate don't shut down the government again when the current funding expires next month. I mean, we could be back to another government shutdown because they saw how that shutdown sort of tanked President Trump's approval ratings. They were down pretty precipitously from the sort of honeymoon period that he enjoyed in the first couple of months of his presidency. But you really saw them nosedive during the shutdown. Why wouldn't Democrats do it again? They're just trying to run out the clock on the Trump agenda. He is Dave Spano. The website annexwealth.com to get a review of your portfolio by experts who are working with and for you as fee-only fiduciaries. You are listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show. It's conservative thought, not just talk.
From the Lynch Truck Center in Waterford Total Traffic Center.
The snow is starting to cause delays just about everywhere out there. Got some heavy ones, 94 westbound from the Marquette over to Hawley. Taking 22 minutes out to Moreland Road. Eastbound taking you 17. Your delay starting at the zoo, clearing up east of Hawley. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by First Choice Heating and Cooling. Beat the cold weather rush. Schedule First Choice's System Safety Tune-Up now. Complete inspection. Almost half off regular price. Same-day service available. 4.9 stars. Fully licensed. Call First Choice Heating and Cooling today.
I'm Dave Brownsdorf, president of Flawless Flooring. It's true, there's nothing quite like the scent of freshly steam-cleaned, worn carpet other than a wet dog or cat's litter box. However, Flawless's customer satisfaction-driven unprecedented growth pinched the Milwaukee metro flooring industry to the point major carpet companies are no more. We've added quality carpeting lines, becoming your true one-stop flooring shop. Flawless Flooring's New Berlin and Delafield showrooms feature virtually unheard of in the flooring industry upfront accurate pricing, including installation on every display. Know how much carpet, LVP, or modded laminate flooring you need? You can calculate exact pricing as you shop. Want to expand your existing hardwood flooring? Flawless's employee-only craftsmen strip existing flooring, install new hardwood, then finish old and new together for a perfect, looks all original floor. Lock in purchasing power of today's dollars for money you'll earn up to 21 months from now with Flawless's no money down, zero interest financing. Sensory under load, Flawless Flooring. FlawlessFlooringLLC.com. That's FlawlessFlooringLLC.com.
My friend just bought his 10th pumpkin spice candle. He's trying to cover up the smells coming from his air ducts.
Classic. The CDS, Candle Defense System. Trying to outsmell 50 years of dust and dead cells.
No, I told him it's like a haunted attic threw up in a spice cabinet.
Forget the candles. Tell him it's time for a proper cleaning. Right now, Capital is offering $200 off professional duct cleaning. We'll clear out the dirt, dust, and whatever else.
Stop living the air freshener lie and call Capital today.
Call CapitalCares.com.
There are only a handful of carpet cleaning companies in the country who guarantee results, and we're one of them. It's no wonder why we're Wisconsin's most trusted carpet cleaner.
Edelman Carpet Furniture and Drapery Cleaning.
It's Edelman again. Edelman.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules. Make News Talk 1130 WISN your #1 preset on our free iHeartRadio app, powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
Senator Mark Kelly, Democrat from Arizona, is either about to hold or just held a press conference. I believe he just held a press conference. This is how little attention I'm really paying to this guy, in which he is explaining himself a little bit better on the illegal orders that were supposedly given that all service members have to disobey. This was the big controversy last week, and it really blew up over Thanksgiving weekend. Now that Democrats believe they actually have a set of illegal orders. Namely, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth saying to his naval commanders, leave no survivors in striking, ordering a second strike on a Venezuelan drug boat that was loaded up with drugs and speeding towards the United States. Well, and Trump first started hitting drug boats. Well, how do we know? How do we know that they're actual drug boats and not taking his speedboat out from Venezuela to the United States? This is truly what they believe, that people normally will just take these transcontinental speedboat trips leaving from Venezuela, that the Venezuelan government is just going to kind of allow random trips out to the U.S. Okay. They forget, of course, that President Obama literally did about 15 years ago order the drone strike assassination of an American citizen by the name of Anwar al-Awlaki, who is a leader of al-Qaeda in Iraq. Now, al-Awlaki was also an American citizen. There's no due process. This was an extrajudicial killing. So why was President Obama not brought before the Hague on war crimes charges or arrested by the FBI under James Comey and brought before a liberal federal judge to answer for his crimes? Well, because Anwar al-Awlaki was a member of a terror organization and very obviously an enemy combatant. The drug cartels have been designated as foreign terrorist enemies. They have no due process rights. None of them are American citizens. I was actually on a panel on Newsmax TV this afternoon with a left-wing Democrat strategist who, honestly, I think he was on about his 15th cup of coffee, or maybe he was one of the recipients of those Venezuelan drug boats, but he was talking about a mile a minute and kept referencing due process for these criminals. They don't enjoy due process rights. Anwar al-Awlaki technically enjoyed due process rights as an American citizen, but because they are classified as enemy combatants, this is perfectly lawful under the rules of engagement. The idea, we're going to strike them to make sure they're dead? What do you think we did with Osama bin Laden? Yeah, capture him, sure. But if they're going to continue to pose a threat to the United States, if these guys were just going to get picked up by the next narco boat that happened upon them, yes, you can actually use lethal force in war. Now, Kelly was actually on, Senator Mark Kelly was on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker on NBC yesterday and said something rather remarkable, because the idea behind what the so-called 6-6 supposedly did was, well, we're just, remember, a lot of people forget he tripped down and watched a lot of football, watched the big Packer Thanksgiving Day win over the Detroit Lions. They just looked like the vastly superior team for almost the entire game. You get about what happened. The video of service members who are now Democrat members of Congress, 2 senators, Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan, Arizona, and duty service members. They do not have to, and in fact cannot hold unlawful orders. Just all last week, which of President Trump's orders are unlawful? They couldn't name it. In fact, Slotkin went on, I believe it was the CBS Sunday morning show a week ago Sunday, and positively embarrassed herself because she was asked flat out what illegal order has been given. She didn't name a single one. Now they believe, okay, well, here's an illegal order that was given. Kelly said something remarkable, though, and this is sort of telling. When Kristen Welker pressed about illegal order, whether or not he personally would disobey the order from, he said, shoot down narco terrorists after the initial strike, he said effectively, look, members of the military, especially, they're going to have to use their own judgment. They're going to have to decide for themselves, because we would really hate to have to prosecute them once we retake power.
People can tell the difference. Should be able to tell the difference between something that's lawful and something that is lawful. And if I was ever given an unlawful order, I would refuse. You have time. You can certainly go to the judge, the general lawyers, and have a discussion. If you don't, it's just going to do that's just the law.
It's a lot of burden on troops to decision in real time.
It's a tremendous amount of burden on officers in the military. That and they can figure out, a reasonable person tells something that is legal and something is illegal.
Person with a law degree. If I was given an order to down some narco terrorists, a fraction of a second, whether or not that illegal order, now the implicit threat is, hey, you got to use your best judgment, and judgment is we need to do something about all those good Germans who are just following orders for the orange. That's an implicit threat. This is why this was not, as Democrats have insisted, well, this is a reminder. This is just a reminder of the constitutional obligation that all soldiers, all permanent men have in they can refuse illegal orders if they want. No, it's not. It's actively saying service members, you'd better not do what Trump says, or you might find yourself in front of a military tribunal once we retake power, once President AOC is your commander-in-chief. This is exactly the same thing that Democrats have been doing we saw this in Wisconsin at the state capitol with these ICE verifier training sessions where they're saying, oh, no. We're reminding people of their rights. We just want people to know their rights when law enforcement officers come for them. No, what you're doing is telling people who are wanted by the authorities that the authorities are coming for them. You're actively encouraging lawlessness by the people who are interfering with the lawful execution of legitimate law enforcement functions. It's the exact same thing here, only in a military concept, in a military context, I should say. That what you're saying is, oh, yes, refuse unlawful orders. This one might be unlawful, but you'd better use your best judgment, because if we determine it to be unlawful, then you will be just as guilty as Trump if you go through with what it is he says. We talk about the latest on the National Guard shooting and the Biden-era disaster of an immigration policy next.
Merry Christmas from all of us here at the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
Slammed southbound on 43, Keefe down to the Marquette and on to 4394 to the KK River. Westbound 94 is lousy from 25th to Hawley. And then out at Moreland, you got a stall in the left shoulder. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by SuperSure.
Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get super sure. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not a little sure, but super sure. The seismic shift is coming. Super sure, coming soon.
The Mark Belling Late Afternoon Show is now the Mark Belling Podcast, and it's always on 24/7. I'm on the iHeart app and all the other big podcast platforms. Standing up for Milwaukee and the world, the Mark Belling Podcast.
The Mark Belling Podcast is presented by Uline. For quality shipping and industrial supplies, Uline has everything in stock. Visit uline.com. Also supported by NX Wealth Management. The Mark Belling Podcast. Now available at iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.
Dan O'Donnell here for my good friends at Mander Collision Glass, the only place I trust my vehicles with for years. Their customer service is impeccable, and their workmanship is so good, they guarantee it for life. But don't just take my word for it. Here's a 5-star review from Alana. Mander was amazing. From Noel at the front desk to Nikki, who helped coordinate my insurance and repairs, I could not have had a better experience. My 21 honestly don't think that great of a customer service experience in my life. I'll refer anyone and everyone to Mander if they ever find themselves in a bind. Thank you so much. No, thank you, Alana, for helping me spread the word about just how great Mander is. Wherever you are in the greater Milwaukee and Waukesha area, there's a service center near you. So start your repair now at mandercollision.com.
I'm attorney Tom Grieve with Divergent Family Law, here to talk about facts and myths about divorce. Do you think as long as you play nice, so will your spouse? That's a myth. Many divorces start that way, but before you know it, one disagreement unravels everything you previously thought was settled. Have you heard it's cheaper to get divorced without an attorney? That's a myth. It's not. The assets lost by not knowing what you are legally entitled to are much more costly than an attorney. Have you heard attorneys bill by the minute and will waste time so that they can charge you more? At Divergent Family Law, that's a myth. We offer free consultations for divorce and provide you with a flat quote for representation. You won't have to wonder what you'll get charged. The facts are you'll get your best possible outcome when you have an experienced attorney at your side. Our attorneys have seen it all. They know the laws and they know the judges. They'll make sure that you get your fair share or better. Contact us today at divergentfamilylaw.com.
On this week's episode of Next Chapter, I, T.D. Jakes, sit down with Denzel Washington, a two-time Academy Award-winning actor and cultural icon.
I don't take any credit for it. I just didn't put me first. I just put God first, and He's carried me.
Open your free iHeartRadio app. Search Next Chapter with T.D. Jakes. That's NXT Chapter, and listen now.
I'm Dan Voss from Cut and Go. Ugly and depressing and trees killed off by emerald ash, oak wilt, and Dutch elm disease are dangerous for friends and loved ones, even a potential liability. Slowly rotting left-standing hardwood trees can weigh tens of thousands of pounds. Even seemingly smaller branches can weigh tens, even hundreds of pounds. With Cut and Go, there is no reason to risk injury or property damage. Live trees in precarious placement for an arborist to remove over homes, garages, commercial buildings, luxury landscapes are easily and safely laid on the ground by Cut and Go's NCCER crane-operated certified remote control automobile mounted articulating crane grapple saw operators. You can save big money and stock up on firewood by having Cut and Go put your trees on the ground for you to clean up or have a bonfire or split firewood, or we can take it all with us when we leave. A Tons of Trees movement. cutandgotrees.com. That's CUTNGO trees.com. Once again, that's cutandgotrees.com.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. If you're living with a chronic condition like diabetes, chronic heart failure, or a cardiovascular disorder, you might count on extra support with your health care too. That's why United Healthcare offers chronic special needs plans with extra benefits and a large provider network to choose from. Visit uhc.com/Medicare to find out if you qualify today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Wisconsin can count on. Provider network may vary in local market.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Injured? Call Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Wisconsin Badger basketball. Big Ten action kicks off Wednesday night when the Badgers host Northwestern at the Kohl Center. Matt LePay's pregame show starts at 7:30 on News Talk 1130 WISN.
One of the most amazing stories that broke over Thanksgiving weekend was made even more amazing by the fact that the New York Times actually covered it. It comes to us from Minnesota, which has a massive Somali migrant population. In fact, so embedded in the politics is Somali culture that, do you remember Omar Fateh, who was a Somali refugee who was running for mayor of Minneapolis against the incumbent Jacob Frey? Frey actually was able to overcome a massive early disadvantage. Remember, the Democrat Farm and Labor Party, which is basically the Democrat Party that they have up there, endorsed Fateh, but there was all sorts of funny business that was revealed. Weird. Jacob Frey, a Democrat, was claiming election fraud in the vote for the Minneapolis DFL, Democrat Farm and Labor nomination or endorsement. And it was rescinded. Frey actually overtly played to tribal politics amidst the Somali immigrants, meaning there are rival tribes, and he pitted the tribe that was not Fateh's tribe against Fateh, and he won. Well, another very famous Somali migrant, Ilhan Omar, congressional representative, who may or may not have married her own brother in a green card scam back in the day, was very ticked at this. Well, over the weekend, it was revealed that there was a $100+ million welfare scam in which Somali migrants were saying that their children had autism when they didn't. They were falsifying documentation of autism diagnoses in order to get increases in funding that was then being intercepted in true Somali warlord politics and sent back to Somalia, where it was being used to fund. I am not kidding. This should be the front page story. This should be the top story in every newspaper and on every television show in America. It was being sent to fund Al-Shabaab, which is an Islamist terror organization operating out of Africa. All the while, Governor Tim Walz was apparently, according to an ex-account of Minnesota State Human Resources employees, who claimed Walz knew all of this was going on, but did nothing despite repeated warnings by them. Their account didn't pop up overnight. It has since been suspended for some reason on X, but it has been active since 2023. And if it is legitimate, and I guess it smacks of legitimacy, it would be very damning if Walz was ignoring repeated warnings about this, but it would track with what he said on Meet the Press yesterday with Kristen Welker, when Welker asked him, hey, so got anything to say about the massive Somali fraud ring in your state?
Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And I will note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can. But to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy.
So there were 75 people arrested and charged in this fraud ring. 75. 71 of them are Somali migrants. It is not lazy to say 71 of 75 are of a particular nationality and are not American citizens. I think we've got a problem here. He said it's not just Somalis. It is absolutely just Somalis. And what else does he say? He said, hey, we're a generous state where the governor is stupid. So if you want to commit fraud on a massive billion-dollar scale, do it here in Minnesota. Now, in response to this, Stephen Miller, special assistant to the president, said literally everything you need to know about why fraud of this massive, insane scale is allowed to exist.
This was not a loophole. The Biden administration, Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, devised a scheme to fly illegal aliens into the country and then to escort them en masse across the border by the millions, and to give them something known as parole, which gives them a work permit, which gives them a social security number, which gives them access to the voting booth. This was the plan all along, to get them here illegally so they can get free government benefits, get hooked to welfare, and be able to participate in American elections. This was an attack on democracy.
In fact, it's most inarguable at this point. What did I open this segment by saying? That both candidates in the Minneapolis mayoral election were resorting to Somali tribal rivalries in order to win votes. Nobody sees anything fundamentally wrong with that. These people are brought here, they're paroled, they are allowed in through chain migration. They are flown. Did you not think it was weird that all of the illegals were being flown to swing states in the Biden era? You don't think that there's just 2,000 random Nicaraguans in Whitewater, Wisconsin? They're just sort of dumped there. Why? A bunch of Venezuelans in Green Bay. Why? Do you remember all of the Haitians in, was it Springfield, Ohio? They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs in Springfield, one of the most legendary lines in the history of presidential debates uttered by President Trump. Why? Why is there suddenly a massive Haitian presence in Springfield, Ohio? These people were allowed in, and it is specifically to give Democrats what they were openly bragging about a generation ago, and that's a permanent majority. They were talking about demographics being destiny, that no matter what Republicans did, that because of immigration, both legal and illegal, within a couple of generations, as the people are coming in and they're having what are pejoratively known as anchor babies, American citizens, because they're born on American soil. And then, of course, Obama had DACA and DAPA, deferred action for the parents of Americans, where they wouldn't deport anybody who has a kid, hence the nickname anchor babies. The idea was that once those generations who have lived large on Democrat bennies for their entire childhoods, once they reached adulthood, they would be loyal Democrat customers. They would be rewarding the people who allowed them in the first place and then basically paid for their lifestyle. That, ladies and gentlemen, is essentially how Democrat politics works. The problem is, once you get people too upwardly mobile, like American citizens, they start saying, well, I don't need Democrat handouts. And in fact, Democrat policies actively make me poorer and they make me less safe. I'm not going to vote for them. Well, there's a need. Just like socialists eventually run out of other people's money, they eventually run out of voters who they can convince to vote for them based solely on giving them other people's money. So what they clearly have been doing is importing them. It's not a racist conspiracy theory. It is absolutely what Democrats have been doing for decades now.
From the Lynch Buick GMC of West Bend Total Traffic Center.
Half hour northbound on 4145 up to Good Hope, just under that down to the zoo. Your southbound 894 trip from there to the Hale takes another 7 minutes. 10 eastbound from there to the Mitchell. I'm Kevin Henry, and that's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Milwaukee Rescue Mission, transforming lives.
The Milwaukee Rescue Mission does more than provide food and shelter to those in need. It also provides job training, life skills education, counseling, and spiritual direction that people can fresh start. The Milwaukee Rescue Mission. Donate at millmission.org.
You've got to get to Built Right today. Dan O'Donnell, Built Right Furniture, Leather, and Mattresses. Built Right's Black November deals and $1 million clearance sell-off are held over. Shop where the O'Donnell family shops 4 generations, 97 years strong. Now is the time to Built Right, locally and family-owned business since 1928. Guests with thousands of furniture and mattress items in stock, including living room, dining room, bedroom, sleepers, sofas, lift chairs, recliners, and much, much more. 60 models of USA-made mattresses, including flippable and heavy-duty models. Gift certificates are available too. Built Right always saves you money. Shop Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday, they're closed to be with family. Tell them Dan sent you to Built Right at 54th and Layton in Greenfield.
Want to sell your house fast for cash?
cash? Don't waste time listing your home. With Metro Milwaukee Homebuyer, get a fair cash offer. Choose your own closing date. No commissions or repair costs. We buy houses for cash, any condition, anywhere in Milwaukee. Go to MetroMilwaukeeHomebuyer.com.
I'm attorney Tom Grieve, here to tell you about Grieve Civil Law. There's a lot of things in life we put off for far too long. Going to the doctor or the gym or the dentist. We know we should do it, but there's always something else more urgent. Estate planning cannot be put off. Life is unexpected. Have you thought about what your family would go through if you died without a will? Probate is stressful, time-consuming, and costly. It can cause family disputes and resentment. Is that what you want your legacy to be? Don't procrastinate when it comes to your family's future. Protect them from chaos and confusion. Don't let your legacy be the mess you left them with. You probably hear a lot of ads that say, time is running out, don't wait. It's a marketing gimmick. We all know there will be another sale soon. When it comes to estate planning, time is literally running out. Plan today and have peace of mind tomorrow. Don't gamble with your life's work. Don't gamble with your family's future. GrieveCivilLaw.com. Because time is running out.
When Flawless Flooring installs luxury vinyl plank, hardwood, modern laminate, or carpeting, I personally guarantee your satisfaction with every step from shopping through installation. I'm Flawless Flooring's president, Dave Brownsdorf, and I approve this message. Sensory Underload, Flawless Flooring. FlawlessFlooringLLC.com.
Miller High Life. Always flavorful, always refreshing, always at the right price. The champagne of beers. Welcome to the High Life. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Here's why. I'm attorney Werner Adam Rice of Warshevsky Law and licensed medical doctor Werner Adam Rice of Warshevsky Law. Being an MD attorney has allowed me to contribute powerful preparation for trial from day one in countless cases. I review medical evidence as it is discovered in the cases Warshevsky represents. Knowing the law and medicine allows me to see things an attorney might miss or that a doctor doesn't realize matter. For Warshevsky and our clients, my expertise has allowed us to see and prosecute forged and altered documents by doctors. I prepare medical expert witnesses in a way few attorneys can, and I'm a scientist. In one case, I proved negligence working with a medical examiner, creating an anatomic clay model of a deceased client. I've contributed to the Warshevsky firm winning many multi-million-dollar lawsuits, including the largest settlement ever awarded in Milwaukee County. Injured? It is about the money. Warshevsky.com, 414-276-4970.
Your home cleaning friend, it's Edelman again. Edelman.
For many of us, it feels like dark times. Politics are putrid. The culture is rancid. Proper values are nearly extinct. There's an overwhelming urge to block it all out, which is exactly the wrong thing to do. Instead, draw from a cauldron of faith, honor, and virtue, and find the courage to fight for what is right. The moment has never been more critical. Positive change starts with you, and we'll be right beside you. News Talk 1130 WISN. Show summaries, podcasts, political tidbits, and the hottest photo galleries in radio. All available to you whenever you demand them at newstalk1130.com.
Suffice it to say, I am already in the Christmas spirit, and it's only the first day of Advent. Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. It is time now to name our unsung hero of the day. Now, today's unsung hero of the day is probably going to be one of the most controversial that we've ever named, because a lot of people don't really like this guy. You should. Today's unsung hero of the day is Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel investigative reporter and columnist Dan Bice. He wrote on his Facebook page today, just recently I got the news that I have esophageal cancer. I start chemo Tuesday, and it will run for months with surgery and radiation as options. Because the tumor was caught late, the prognosis isn't ideal, but we are hoping for the best. I appreciate all the calls, texts, and emails. Even got a call from Governor Tony Evers, an esophageal cancer survivor, who reassured me I don't have to run for statewide office if I beat this. I hope to write at least a little for the MJS during treatment. So as always, feel free to send story ideas to daniel.bice@jrn.com, which is, of course, his professional email address. Now, I know a lot of you folks do not like Dan because he does a fair amount of hit pieces on Republicans. He also does a fair amount of hit pieces on Democrats. Dan is actually an old school journalist with a capital J who fundamentally does not seem to care, nor should he, about who he offends. When he got started with Carrie Spivak, the Spivak and Bice column was required reading while I was growing up. And frankly, Dan Bice's column has been required reading for me every step of my professional career. Dan is an unsung hero because he will write critical stories about Democrats in an era where many of his contemporaries simply will not. And everyone here at the Dan O'Donnell Show sends our thoughts and prayers to Dan, who is a devout Christian. I don't want to out him on that, but he always has been, and I know his faith will get him through this. So if you would, please say a prayer of healing for Dan Bice, today's unsung hero of the day. We love you, Dan. Even when we disagree with you, we wish the absolute best in your recovery, and we will say a Christmas prayer for you. Dan O'Donnell Show, coming right back.
All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the Annex Wealth Management Studios. Annex Wealth Management. Know the difference. Stay informed all day, every day on News Talk 1130 WISN. Milwaukee. An iHeartRadio station. Guaranteed human.
To dig out after, in many cases, over 10 inches of snow over the weekend. Delaney O'Connor lives on the south side of Milwaukee.
Well, I dug my car out last night because I saw how the side streets were plowed, and I knew I was not going to want to do it this morning. So this morning I just brushed my car off and started it very early to try and get it warmed up.
A snow emergency has again been declared for all of Milwaukee County tonight. Here's Fox 6's Carl Deffenbaugh.
It will run from 10 p.m. until 6 in the morning. Tonight, that means all vehicles must be parked on the odd number side of the street by 10 p.m. And if you don't, you could face fines of up to $150. Garbage and recycling collection is also suspended for today so that the crews can keep clearing snow instead. Pickup will resume as normal tomorrow.
And 6 in 10 full-time employees say they did look for Cyber Monday deals while at work today. Adobe Analytics predicts a total of online spending could top $14 billion. That would be up more than 6% from last year. Checking the Holiday Automotive Fond du Lac Sports Scoreboard, Bucks in D.C. tonight to play the Wizards. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Dave Michaels. On Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Here's the latest forecast, powered by ReamerRemodel.com from the Fox 6 weather experts.
A fluffy snow will continue until around midnight with a half an inch to an inch of accumulation. Temperatures dropping into the teens overnight. Watch out for a few slick spots. Partly to mostly cloudy on Tuesday with a high of 26. I'm Fox 6 Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks.
This report is sponsored by O'Keefe's Working Hands Hand Cream.
That number on your dash says it's freezing, and your dry winter hands, they agree. O'Keefe's Working Hands, the hand cream in the green package, instantly relieves dry, cracked skin. Winter's tough, but your hands don't have to be. O'Keefe's Working Hands.
At Ross Dental, your journey to smiling like you just don't care because you don't isn't paved with anxiety, discomfort, or judgment. People should be judged by the content of their character, not the straightness, color, or condition of their smile. No matter how much restoration required, Ross Dental's gentle, caring staff won't judge you. Ross Dental does cutting-edge laser dentistry, maximizing patient comfort and health. Laser removal of tooth decay requires 0 shots. For almost everyone, it's painless. Procedures are faster, no numb mouth, 0 shots. Smile like you just don't care, because you don't. RossDentalNewBerlin.com. Lasers don't churn up infected tissue. They kill bacteria, fungus, even viruses, dramatically reducing infection-spreading bioaerosols old technology drills cause. Laser dentistry is ideal for cavity treatment, and less collateral tissue damage treating gum disease or canker sores speeds up recovery. Ross Dental's convenient payment options, low, even no radiation imagery, and sedation dentistry eliminate every reason to neglect your teeth. Schedule your cleaning or cosmetic assessment today, and soon you'll smile like you just don't care, because you don't. RossDentalNewBerlin.com.
Let Tri-County Contracting take care of the outside of your home so you don't have to. Worry-free roofing, siding, and windows from Tri-County Contracting. Call us at 262-679-6100 or visit us online at TriCountyContractingWI.com.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Julia owed the IRS thousands.
I was paralyzed with fear.
Then
I heard a commercial for Optima Tax Relief.
Optima Tax Relief is the leading tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and experts in the Fresh Start Initiative.
Optima Tax Relief settled my IRS tax bill.
Call Optima now for a free consultation.
It was amazing.
Call 800-926-0155. 800-926-0155.
Optima Tax Relief.
Visit OptimaTaxRelief.com for details.
The Mark Belling Late Afternoon Show is now the Mark Belling Podcast, and it's always on 24/7. I'm on the iHeart app and all the other big podcast platforms. Standing up for Milwaukee and the world, the Mark Belling Podcast.
The Mark Belling Podcast is presented by Uline Shipping and Industrial Supplies. Ship same day for fast delivery. Visit uline.com. Also supported by Charisma Customs. You can get the Mark Belling Podcast right now at iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.
Get started with your no-hassle refi checkup by clicking on the blue button at Accunet.com.
Wall Investment Group, now Creative Planning, is a registered investment advisor. Now for your business report from Creative Planning. Informational purposes only. Past performance is not indicative of future results.
Good evening. Certified financial planner Chauncey Weisensell with your evening business report. The major averages fell today as Wall Street kicked off the final trading month of 2025 with continued volatility. December is typically a strong month for stocks, but strategists say the so-called Santa Claus rally may not happen this year and raised uncertainty. Health shares have shy roughly 5% after we're unable to process transactions during a partial outage on Monday, one of the biggest shopping days of the year. 407 points from Creative Planning on
More than 2,000 years ago, God sent His only begotten Son to be with us. An angel announced the birth of our Lord and Savior to humble shepherds. He said, I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all of the people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord.
God Almighty, we're bowing down, and that's what Christmas is all about.
You will find a baby wrapped in clothes and lying in a manger.
1,000 angels are singing.
At Christmas, we thank God for sending us His Son to bring peace to our souls and joy to the world.
That's what Christmas is all about.
And a Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. I love everybody listening, watching the show out there in Dan Nation. Your support means more than you can ever possibly know, and I bring you and wish for you good tidings, glad tidings of great joy this holiday season. Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Final hour, 414-799-1130 on our AdventNews.com talk and text line, 1-800-838-9476. You can reach us toll free DOD at iHeartMedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, Facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show as well, Instagram, Dan O'Donnell Show. You can find us on YouTube. and iHeartRadio, or you listen. How is it of data center project until state leader water use? The petition created by environmental advocacy group Clean Wisconsin called for policymakers to stop approving data centers powering artificial intelligence until the state creates, quote, a comprehensive plan for regulating the projects. The petition has collected more than 1,200 signatures as of November 26th, the organization says. The petition pointed to the project's demand for large amounts of energy and water, which it said could negatively impact the environment. Clean Wisconsin says 2 approved data center projects are expected to use more electricity than all Wisconsin homes combined. It's the latest sign that Wisconsinites remain concerned about the growth of data centers. Would it surprise you to learn that the environmental group Clean Wisconsin is not being totally honest about how exactly these data centers operate or how much water and electricity they actually use? In fact, the average data center uses about 1.6 million gallons of water per day. Okay? Sounds like a lot, right? Until you realize that that is the equivalent of a medium-sized golf course. So, Whitnall Golf Course or New Berlin Hills, right? A medium-sized golf course, pretty average. Both of those fantastic places to play, by the way, if you enjoy, as I do, playing public courses. Obviously, my favorite still, our friends over at Morningstar. Jimmy Frucci, Michael Crowley, they do an excellent job. So I guess Morningstar uses about as much water as an average data center. That is roughly the equivalent of 3,000 homes. How many data centers now use no water at all? The answer? 40%. 40% of data centers use what is known as air cooling or liquid immersion and direct-to-chip cooling. So think about your laptop, right? Everybody, I want you to picture your laptop. Hopefully you're home from work right now, but if you're still slaving away at the kitchen table, you'll hear something go on. The fan. It pulls down the processor that powers your laptop. The exact same sort of idea powers and cools down data centers. These things are remarkably hot. This is such a hot spot for data centers because we have such a cool climate. You might have noticed we had quite the snowy weekend. It gets very, very cold very, very quickly here in Wisconsin. That's actually great for data centers because they don't need to use as much energy to cool them. Now, in the old days of data centers, which is 5 years ago, they would take fresh water. They needed a ton of fresh water. Salt water obviously would corrode. So they needed a ton of fresh water in order to cool down the processors, in order to cool down the part of the center that are actually doing the compute workload. Very, very similar to your laptop. But just as you don't take a bucket of water and pour it on your laptop to cool it down, most data centers now are being built with air cooling technology. Yes, this does use a bit more electricity or power, but most of the data centers that are being built right now are paying massive amounts to the energy companies to basically allow them to operate on what amounts to a separate grid than homes. You are not going to have rolling brownouts like they have in California California because there's a Microsoft data center. In fact, the newest data centers that are going to be built, I am absolutely convinced small-scale nuclear power is going to be an explosive growth opportunity for investment and for jobs, because what we're going to need is a way to power. So the grid does have a finite capacity. You can't just put 55 new data centers in the exact same spot operating off the exact same grid and expect there not to be any sort of interruption or problem with power delivery to the broader customer base. This is why companies like Meta, companies like Microsoft, companies like Amazon are essentially investing in their own power grids. This isn't a fly-by-night data company that is just going to, I don't know what they think, it's going to be like stealing cable back in the day where they're running their own line that's siphoning off power from the old Johnson farm. No, it doesn't work like that. These are massive, multi-billion-dollar companies whose entire existence is predicated on high-tech solutions to problems that the world doesn't even know that it has, or to create products that the world doesn't even know that it needs, and to power the next generation of human evolution. And folks, data centers are powering more than just cloud computing. They are powering the next generation of human advancement. If we don't have data centers here, and I'm not saying we need to have 50,000 of them in Wisconsin to just transform agriculture zoned land into massive data center projects, but if we don't have them in the United States somewhere, I'm actually a big believer that in the untamed wilderness of Alaska, that would be a fantastic. Do you have any idea how massive Alaska is? It is impossibly, unfathomably large. It is as big as something like a quarter of the continental United States. That's how big this state is. And hey, what do you know? There's about 1 million lakes and huge sources of fresh water in Alaska, and it happens to have the perfect temperature. I believe a lot of our data centers should be going there, but to broaden the tax base here in Wisconsin, I think this is not a bad. Now, one of the big things, you also need a lot of flat land, which Alaska doesn't necessarily have. It's a very mountainous state, and you'd have to clear out a whole lot of forest land, which is why the My Great Alaska idea is probably not going anywhere. Also, it's just very difficult to get people and parts and everything else into Alaska. Well, Wisconsin is perfect because A, you are very close to 2 major international airports, 3, if you count Midway, I guess, does some international flights, but O'Hare and Mitchell International, you can get stuff, people, whatever, in, out quickly. Wisconsin is perfect because you don't have the massive tax burden of Illinois, and you have a lot of flat land that's very close to a huge source of fresh water in Lake Michigan, even though we probably don't need a whole lot of fresh water. So not only are these not taking nearly as much electricity as the doomsayers are saying, they're not taking nearly as much water, and in fact, most of them are not even requiring water. They're not taking the pristine wilderness away from Wisconsin. Data centers currently occupy about 0.02% of all commercial land in the United States. A 100-acre campus generates about $2 billion in revenue and can employ upwards of 1,000 people. And most of these are not being built just randomly in the middle of nowhere on some farmland. They're being built in existing industrial parks, which is why the Foxconn campus is such a perfect spot for it. It's just sort of expanding Racine and Kenosha counties and can lead to massive economic development for those areas for people who don't want to live and don't want to do business in Illinois. The herd that is a common complaint about them is that they are very noisy. Most are actually about lower than 60 decibels at the property line. That's quieter than a highway. By way of comparison, we clocked the Rock complex. Do you remember the noise complaints about that in Franklin? We clocked it at something like 80 some decibels at one point during their big rap tequila and tacos festival or whatever it was a year or two ago when we were reporting extensively on that. Data centers are much quieter. All of the concerns, therefore, that relate to the environment are just dramatically overblown. Now, I'm not saying a chicken in every pot and a data center on every block, rather obviously, but this reflexive knee-jerk opposition to data centers anywhere in our state coming from, interestingly enough, the extreme environmental left, and I believe a substantial number of people on the political right is actually rather remarkable. I'll tell you what, though, I have had my say. Let's open it up. I told you weeks ago when we first broached this subject that we would be discussing data centers again. Let's take some calls, shall we? 414-799-1130 or 1-800-838-9476. Your phone calls, your text next here on the Dan O'Donnell Show in just 3 minutes.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
It will count 94 eastbound 83, got a crash off to the left shoulder, and you're looking at 18 minutes more into the Marquette. It's about 31 back to Moreland most of the way. I'm Ken Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Lynch Automotive family of dealerships.
For over 65 years, the Lynch family of dealerships has been more than just a car dealership. Starting in 1957, we've treated our customers like family from day one. Start your car buying journey today at shoplynch.com.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell from my friends at Current Electric. They'd like to thank Southeast Wisconsin for making them the #1 choice in same-day electrical services. Do you know the reason so many people choose Current Electric? It's trust. And it's that simple. People trust the Current Electric electricians that come into their homes and perform same-day electrical service and repairs and have for over 40 years. Give the superheroes from Current Electric a chance to earn your trust. You won't be sorry. Go to callcurrent.com.
Jason, what are you singing?
Working on a new jingle to promote Capital's $49 drain clearing. When your sink fills up with gunk, don't stress, don't whine. It's only $49.
Don't take this the wrong way, man, but I'd stick to plumbing, heating, and cooling if I were you.
That's fair, but people need that we clear clogs for only $49.
Fine, but I would have rhymed gunk with junk. It's so obvious.
Call CapitalCares.com.
Hi, this is Dave Spano, CEO of Annex Wealth Management. As we head towards the new year, I want to extend a heartfelt gratitude to our listeners and to our clients. Thank you for your trust, your partnership, and the conversations we get to have every day. From all of us at Annex, we wish you and your family a safe, joyful, and meaningful holiday season.
Investment and retirement planning, along with tax and estate strategies. Get financially organized for the new year. Click Get Started at AnnexWealth.com.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell from Mander Collision and Glass, now with 7 locations to serve you across the greater Milwaukee area. Start your repair right now at ManderCollision.com. Mander truly is the best decision after a collision.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules. Make News Talk 1130 WISN your number one preset on our free iHeartRadio app, powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
I just wanted to say I listen to you on iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio. Download the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
The great data center debate is one that Wisconsin is probably going to be having for the next decade or so. Folks, we're not going to have fewer data centers in this world. We are going to have way, way, way more. But do we want them in Wisconsin? Is this a case of NIMBYism, i.e. not in my backyard, or are there legitimate complaints about data centers going up in southeast Wisconsin? We start out as we take some phone calls with Matt in Wind Lake. Matt, Merry Christmas to you. Welcome to the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Merry Christmas. Thanks for all the great hard work you do.
Thank you.
I think personally, I don't live near one, but I think it's a matter of like who lives there. Like when somebody moves somewhere and buys a house, nobody signs up for wanting like a rifle range or a train track or something going through the community. So, well, I don't know how everybody feels about it. If those are the taxpayers and the voters in that general area, I can see where they don't want the rural landscape or the peaceful, quiet, nature of their communities to ever be changed by the volume of traffic and contractors and things that are going on there, aside from obviously the water, environmental issues, changing the peacefulness where they live. Development is always a tough area to have for community growth and expansion and the greater good for the community, balanced with the rights and the appreciations and the wishes of the folks that bought houses there. So it's definitely a delicate area, but you aren't going to find a lot of folks that move somewhere and say, bring this development to where I live. I'd like to have this here. That's a very small number of people that probably move there and want that and support that.
Well, so nobody, and that is actual NIMBY, which I would completely agree with. I actually built a house on a protected wetland for that exact reason, because nothing legally can ever go up behind me. So I'm completely sympathetic to that. But I guess, Matt, that's one of the sort of misconceptions about data center construction. The people who are in the companies that are putting these up, they are prioritizing existing industrial areas and basically brownfield redevelopment. And that is just areas that are not being used for anything. So there's a difference between greenfield development, which means an active farm or the forest or just some sort of pristine wilderness. For a whole host of logistical reasons, you wouldn't want to put a data center there anyway, not the least of which being, okay, well, it's going to take way more to construct roads. It's going to cost way more to just get things from point A to point B, people, construction materials, that sort of thing. So they're going in existing industrial areas. Now, I'm not going to lie, they do need a lot of space, okay? They need a ton of space, but it's much more likely to go near an Amazon fulfillment center than it is into the woods behind your house. But that is a legitimate concern. And this is why, please don't, even though I use the word NIMBY or the acronym NIMBY, I'm not saying that those aren't legitimate concerns, because you want to keep the distinct character of a community. That is a legitimate and that is a very powerful argument against them. But if you've already got industry, whether it's heavy industry, manufacturing and so forth, or whether you've got, say, digital industry or a business park, for example. So you've got, just any number of warehouses, or so there's a big area in Oak Creek. New Berlin has a pretty substantial business, pretty much every community. Well, what is different if there's another business that's up that just happens to be a data center? Let's go to Tom in Janesville up next on the Dan O'Donnell Show. What's going on, Tom? Merry Christmas.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, good to talk to you. Janesville was proposing a data center here, and they're proposing a site that's already industrial called the General Motors assembly plant.
Yeah.
That has been, well, how long ago was that torn down?
Geez.
90s?
Yeah, I was going to say 3 decades minimum.
We got a lot of groundwork that's going to have to be done, but at least it's in a spot where with a plant already that wasn't bothering anybody, and hey, let's go for it.
And that's kind
in terms of what?
Oh yeah, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
In terms of water usage, people already pump 2 million gallons a day.
Yeah.
And if you add another million gallons a day, you know how much that is? How much a million is? Medium-sized 10 or 15 horsepower pump will get you gallons a minute.
And
in terms of a million,
and the data centers that are going on now, the vast majority of them not water that existing data centers.
They're looking for air cooling sensors.
Yeah,
they look for.
Exactly. You're very knowledgeable about this, Tom.
I was talking a long conversation with one of our city councilmen about it, and he filled me in a little bit about the water usage that the city uses, plus the site. And I'm not a high tech guy, but I'm certainly don't want the red Chinese to take over data centers.
Well, and that. Do you think they have anywhere near the same concern about the environment or what they're putting next to people's houses? Of course they don't. And we can either keep the value, literally some of the most valuable stuff that we have, the data about ourselves, about the United States of America. I mean, this is what this stuff is powering. Where do you think what you're doing on, say, Amazon's cloud is actually physically stored? It's at these data centers. I mean, Kamala Harris rather infamously said, well, it goes up there into the cloud. No, it doesn't go into a physical cloud, Vice President Harris. It goes into a data center which stores it and then sort of spreads through all of the various machines that access that data center central point. It spreads the data and connects various different points of access. Let's go to Chris in Muskego. Chris, you're on the Dan O'Donnell Show. How you doing, sir? And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Dan. How are you?
Wonderful. What's going on?
Good. Well, I've been doing this almost 20 years. I did this for 6 years. I'm a network engineer by trade. There's a lot of misinformation going out there. I basically keep hearing people talk about a quote-unquote giant drinking job. It's going to be in Lake Michigan.
This goes back to Foxconn. Do you remember when the lefties were saying that about the Foxconn plant?
Oh, the average Wisconsinite or Milwaukeean, how many data centers actually are. Even a medium-sized business, a quote-unquote data center. Yep. What these people are referring to are these massive data centers run by the likes of Amazon, Google, DigitalOcean, Vultr, stuff like that. I haven't heard of any of those types of data centers coming up in Wisconsin. Those may need to be water-cooled, but like the gentleman before me said, it's mostly just condensed air. It's mostly just HVAC.
Yeah, it's basically like imagine a giant condensed air canister that you use to clean your laptop keyboard. That's exactly. sort of what you're seeing, and I'm glad that you are seeing the same thing I am in your industry, Chris. That it's just a staggering amount of misinformation. Although I shouldn't be super surprised. None of us should, that a lot of this misinformation is coming from Clean Wisconsin and the environmental crowd, which has sort of made a career out of just scaring people with, apocalyptic scenarios that are never, ever, ever going to be supported by the actual hard science or the actual data on the ground. I think we've got time for 1 or 2 calls. Let's go to Joyce, listening to us. Milwaukee, you're on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Merry Christmas, Joyce.
Thank you. Same to you. A question. And you were referring to the amount of water usage comparable to that used by a golf course. And so, I mean, I'm not necessarily for or against it, but what I'd like to know is that water usage per day over the course of the year, or is that water usage, for 3 months of the year? So in fact, it'd be 4 times as much.
Well, it is on an annual basis, as I understand the statistics, because water, obviously you're not watering your golf course now. It's buried under a foot of snow. It is in that 3 month span. Golf courses use so much water. And actually, it's probably closer to about 6-7 months. Okay. I think most of them are open. They are using so much water. There's a reason we call them greens, Joyce, and not browns. It's because they require so much water every single day. The reason is that most of that is being constructed now aren't using any water at processors. They're using
golf courses.
Yes, there are. Yes, and they are a huge water supply. But the reality is, water is a renewable resource, right? We're constantly talking about the need to rely on renewable resources like wind and solar and water and all of this. Water literally falls from the sky. God provides us nearly limitless amount of water that we are never, no matter how much water we use, we are never going to drain Lake Michigan. And I remember stories popping up about Lake Michigan water levels and all of this. It is a naturally occurring phenomenon. Water levels rise, water levels fall. It's dependent on a number of factors, precipitation, I believe, chief among them. And it is not, Joyce, going to be all that big of a deal. We're not even going to be needing that much water. It's going to be air cooling. We are using wind power, I guess, to power. And frankly, while I am generally in favor of the idea of us specifically being a technology leader and leaning into the infrastructure that is going to power humanity into its next golden age of prosperity, or potentially a Terminator or Matrix style apocalypse. But hey, I'm willing to roll those dice. I'm kidding. We are not going to have a Matrix or Terminator style apocalypse, at least not in our lifetime. And the idea that somehow artificial intelligence is not going to be more akin to the Industrial Revolution than it was to the digital revolution, I think is whistling past the proverbial graveyard here. It is already changing literally everything we do, whether or not we realize it yet. Time for one more phone call before we've got to go to break, and it will be Tom in Oak Creek. Tom, you're on the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Hey, Dan, there's another thing that they were discussing is when they build these data centers, they're going to have nuclear power plants on site. Now, the benefit to the community is that they're not going to build these nuclear power plants to what they actually need in usage. They're going to build them 10 or 20 fold. All that energy is going to be either sold at a discount or for free back to the community that they're in.
That is exactly it, Tom. I'm glad you brought up that point because it completely slipped my mind. Yeah, I was actually talking about small-scale nuclear before the break and how that is likely going to be what's driving, what's powering the growth of data centers and just making them feasible on the scale that we're going to need. But you're right, because... Oh, go ahead.
But they're not going to build them at what they need in usage. They're going to build them 10 or 20 or 30 fold, and that energy that they're going to produce, they're just going to send it back into the grid.
Because why would you just get the energy that you need when, to sweeten the deal for a skeptical community, you say, okay, well, we've got all this power. We've got more power than we could possibly need because we can use it through nuclear reaction, right? We can generate our own power almost ad infinitum using nuclear fission, nuclear fusion. And in order to give it to order to get what we need done, i.e. the data center to be built, we will actually either sell it to you, the community we're going to build it in, Oak Creek, for example, Tom, or whatever community, to say, okay, hey, why do you need to be dependent upon We Energies? You vote for this Facebook Meta data center here, and we will provide the entire community's energy for free. Sounds like a pretty good deal, right? The data that Facebook or Amazon or whomever is clearly worth more than the price they would pay. The ability to do what they need to do is so much more what it costs to eat how an entire city where the data center is, that I think you're going to start to see that, provided, of course, that small-scale nuclear on a large enough scale to power these sorts of things is allowed. I have long thought that 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl might have been the two biggest disasters that we have ever experienced as a country because of the perception that they instilled in a whole lot of Americans' minds that nuclear is not safe, that there's no way we could ever allow nuclear because look what happened in Chernobyl. Well, I don't think I need to tell you this, but the Soviets were completely and totally incompetent. If you want to watch a great illustration of that, watch the miniseries Chernobyl, which was 5-6 years ago, something like that, on HBO. Absolutely fantastic telling of that story. But because that was so omnipresent in people's minds and on their televisions, and because the environmental left made it such a scary boogeyman, and of course the coal and oil and natural gas producers, especially OPEC and the oil industry, use that disaster to demonize the single worst competition they ever faced. We have an entire generation of people who believe that nuclear at any level is completely unsafe and should never be allowed. Well, that quite possibly set humanity back about a half a century, and I don't think I'm exaggerating there. You are listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. It is classical conservatism and contemporary style. Absolutely great discussion, folks. Loved it.
From the Lynch GM Superstore in Burlington Total Traffic Center.
Back slow spots just about everywhere out there because of the weather, especially heavy southbound 43, Capital to the Marquette, northbound from the Marquette to Burleigh, westbound 94, solid from 16th to Hawley. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
For many of us, the most important part of our routine between 6 and 9 weekday mornings is to listen to every minute of the Jay Weber Show on WISN. Sadly, sometimes less important elements of our lives get in the way, such as work, children, and bathing. Don't despair. The Jay Weber Show podcast is available 24/7 to fill any gaps in your hunger for entertainment. Just go to News Talk 1130.com, click the podcast tab, and enjoy Jay Weber on demand.
The only agent I trust here in Milwaukee is Justin Hoffman with RE/MAX Lakeside. Now, thanks for joining me today. So what's the biggest challenge that sellers face when they're getting a divorce?
Well, unfortunately, divorces deal with it a lot in our business. We have to make sure that these people feel like they're being treated fairly. They want both to feel like they're part of the deal. They don't want one side getting more than the other. And we have to pull the precedent up front so they know we're going to be dealing with them directly away from the transaction.
All right. For us, if I needed to sell a home in Milwaukee, I'd call Justin Hoffman. Just go to WI Home WIL.com. That's WIL.com. Over 700 5-star ratings.
Of course, this unforgettable venue is perfect for your wedding day or company event. For a tour, visit riverclubofmequon.com.
Jay Weber here. If you're someone who's experiencing shoulder, spine, hip, knee, or musculoskeletal pain and a total joint replacement might be in your future, think Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Find them at orthowisconsin.com. At Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, their physicians are committed to providing the highest quality of joint care and specialize in same-day total joint replacements at their own ambulatory surgery center in Pewaukee. You can find them at orthowisconsin.com. orthowisconsin.com. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference.
Do you own a small business? A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get Super Sure. Coming soon.
Fleet Rewards members 10% off all qualifying purchases. Fleet Rewards members will save an extra 2% on any qualified purchase, in-store and online. Not a member? Sign up now. Membership's free. Just have your member coupon ready on November 30th through Wednesday, December 3rd, save an additional 10 cents at Fleet Farm. It's our way of saying you for a loyal customer. Some restrictions apply.
Keep the holiday soundtrack on everywhere. The snowman. Open the free iHeartRadio app and listen to B97.3. Walk for the holidays. On the go. Tap the holiday banner or just search holiday and you'll see customized stations, Christmas classics, iHeart Country Christmas, and tons of playlists to set the mood. You've got enough to do. Let us open the free iHeartRadio app now. Start listening.
When starting a new project, the first step is the hardest to take. Hi, Colleen here with Tri-County Contracting. And with Tri-County Contracting, the first step is super easy. Go to TriCountyContractingWI.com. You can fill out a short form requesting a free estimate. Amanda will give you a call and schedule a no-pressure appointment with you. Whether it's roofing, siding, windows, or all of the above, we have covered. If you are looking for an even faster roof price, we also have our instant roof quote button. Name, address, and email address, and you have your price on the spot. Easy first step. Then, all the steps after that, we'll take care of those for you. Getting you an easy-to-read, clear proposal quickly comes next. Then we can help you pick colors using our showroom or project map on our website. We pull the permits, we take care of materials and disposal. Our trained and specialized crews and project managers take care of all the install and cleanup. For you, it's as easy as one step, and that step is easy. Worry-free roofing, siding, and windows. Tri-County Contracting.
It was a 4-day winter power outage that had me buying an awesome Generac generator, and I've been worry-free ever since. So this is great news. The number one Generac dealer in the nation is now here in Wisconsin, and it's the perfect time to get a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator for your home. Generator Supercenter sells, installs, maintains, and monitors Generac generators, and it's all they do. So they do it right, and they certify and warranty their work. Never sit through a power outage again. Get peace of mind today. 262-622-6220. That's 262-622-6220, or go to GeneratorSuperCenterOfLakeCountry.com.
Injured? Call Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Sunday, Bears, Packers, Lambeau Field. Coverage starts at 11, kick at 3:25. On 95.7 Big FM, WRIT. Touchdown! Presented by Robert Hack Diamonds. They buy gold. See them in Brookfield or Greenfield.
A fascinating discussion of data centers, and I sort of see it as my mission on this show to debunk just fundamental untruths and misinformation that's out there, and a lot of misinformation is flying about data centers. So I'm sure we will discuss this again. The big sports story that isn't really a sports story, but is a story about loyalty and character was it reached a crescendo yesterday when Lane Kiffin officially announced that he was leaving Ole Miss, the University of Mississippi football team, where he was the head coach for the past 5 seasons and led them from just utter depths of irrelevance in the SEC, the best football conference in America, to the cusp of a potential national title. They are going to make the college football playoff, but Kiffin announced yesterday he ain't going to be with them. He has taken the head coaching job at LSU, which is being forced to pay now former coach Brian Kelly, as it fired Kelly in the midst of a down season, and attempted to claim that Kelly violated the terms of his contract, and thus LSU didn't need to pay him the rest of his contract. Well, turns out they're going to have to pay him about $50 million, and now they're also paying Lane Kiffin. Kiffin has always been regarded, he is the son of the late, very well-respected coach Monty Kiffin, right? Producer Armin, Monty Kiffin is dead, right? Yeah, I'm fairly certain he died. Yeah, he died several years ago. Lane Kiffin, as say Wonder King, supposed to revitalize the Oakland Raiders years and years and years ago, has been a job-hopping joke. He's had tremendous success at Ole Miss over the last 5 years, but he washed out of Oakland, he washed out of Tennessee, he washed out of USC, and Ole Miss was the only school that at that point in his career was willing to give him a chance. He does the right thing. He sticks with the program for really the first time in his coaching career, and he builds them up into a title contender. Just before Thanksgiving, word starts to leak that Lane, well, he might be taking the job with LSU, obviously an SEC rival. Yesterday, hopped on a plane to Louisiana, signed the contract, leaving his players in the dust. Now, players, because of the transfer portal, as producer Armin noted, are pretty much mercenaries themselves, and they'll hop from school to school to school to school, but not in the middle of a year when you're going to the college football playoff and you have a very real chance of playing for a national championship. It's not like the old days where, the BCS, where there were only the top two teams who would play for the national championship, and pretty much every other bowl game was, in large measure, an exhibition. This is why you would get top NFL prospects sitting them out. Now, no. The playoffs actually mean something. The bowl games actually mean something. It is beyond ridiculous, though, that college football's setup makes this all but inevitable. The transfer portal essentially opening while teams are still playing means that coaches, if they want to capitalize in big schools, you need to get top players out of the transfer portal. It's just as important, if not more so, than recruiting top high school players. But because the recruiting window is also open, if Lane Kiffin didn't take the LSU job when he did, and LSU didn't essentially say, hey, you take the job now or we're going to give it to somebody else, that was the reason that you have a national championship team suddenly without his coach. And Kiffin thought he was just going to be able to poach his entire coaching staff and bring them to LSU with him. Ole Miss is rightfully saying, no, we're going to do our best to keep you from doing that. It seems like this whole scenario could be remedied very easily if the NCAA would just change the transfer portal window and change the recruiting window for when coaches are actually allowed to make any contact with prized recruits. What kind of this would be like if the NFL free agency period was right before the Super Bowl. If the trade deadline was the week before the Super Bowl. What? Let's have the NFL draft in the divisional round of the playoffs. Why? Why is the schedule so messed up? Why would you do college basketball isn't like this? No other sport is like this. So it seems like there is an easy fix. It would, at least to my mind, and I'll admit I am not a huge college football fan, but I couldn't help being swept up in the Lane Kiffin saga over Thanksgiving opening weekend. And really, yes, it is about loyalty. Like, how can you take a group of kids and just walk away from them when you have a real chance of doing something that nobody thought a Mississippi team would be able to do in the era of dominance by Alabama and Auburn and LSU in that conference and actually win it all? I mean, just how can anybody ever, when there's a great column, I believe it was in The Athletic. I don't actually remember who wrote it, and for that I do apologize. But when he talks about it in his next pregame speech, when he talks about we're all in this together, boys, and this is a team, and these are your brothers, how can anybody take him seriously? Be like, oh yeah, you're our brothers until what? The Kansas City Chiefs need a head coach, and then you're going to leave us for them? Seriously, what happens in 5 years after Kiffin wins a national championship? 5? Hell, what happens in 2 years if Kiffin wins a national championship, or he's about to win a national championship, and all of a sudden the NFL comes calling? It was an excellent point by this columnist. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Conservative thought, not just talk.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
20 minutes both sides of 41-45 between the Zoo and Good Hope. 43 northbound up to Brown Deer takes 18. 20 southbound on to 43-94. Another 10 to the Mitchell. Half hour westbound 94 to Moreland. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by First Choice Heating and Cooling. 0 payments, 0 interest for 18 months. First Choice Heating makes HVAC repairs and service affordable. No credit hassles on select equipment. 4.9-star service. Call First Choice Heating and Cooling now.
Divorce is challenging, but getting a favorable outcome shouldn't be. I'm attorney Tom Grieve with Divergent Family Law. At Divergent Family Law, our experienced attorneys are committed to helping you understand your rights and options. We believe everyone deserves guidance through life's toughest transitions. During our free consultation, we'll give you a clear breakdown of the process and a flat rate quote for representation. Our attorneys will give you an honest assessment of your options based on Wisconsin law and your local judges. They'll help you make informed, confident decisions. You deserve to feel secure, not shortchanged. You may feel pressured to play nice with your spouse, or you may feel like you have no choice but to dig your heels in to fight on every topic. But being fair doesn't mean giving up your fair share. At Divergent Family Law, we're here to protect your future and prioritize what's truly important to you. You can be fair and still get your fair share, or better. Reach out now for a free divorce consultation. Go to divergentfamilylaw.com.
Things are going to be busy between now and the end of the year. Holiday gatherings, school functions for the kids, and family get-togethers. Hi, it's Jay, and the last thing you want to worry about this holiday is whether you're going to make put your mind at ease. Highly roof and will examine every inch of your roof, checking the 21 most common areas of roof failure, and then go over the results with you and discuss your options going forward. Most of the time, probably can repair, but if it is time for a new roof, Semperfi offers money-saving discounts and financing terms to make paying easy. And don't forget, Semperfi is so confident in you'll install a 50-year leak-free guarantee on every roof they install. 50 years. So call or online to schedule your free 21-point roof inspection today. Call 262-600-2910, 262-600-2910, or online at semperfiroofing.com.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semperfi.
Do you own a small business? Seismic Shift is it's time to get super sure.
This Black Friday gives something that lasts. By the Yard crafts durable, maintenance-free outdoor furniture made in the U.S. and built for every season. Starting Black Friday, set the same piece for 30% off. Visit a By the Yard showroom, see and feel the difference for yourself. The BOGO 30% event runs Black Friday through Friday only. With By the Yard, life is better outdoors.
Bob built a brand over the same 20 years iNet has. I bought multiple properties over those years.
Bob gets real estate like I never will.
In real estate, every brokerage does the same thing. MLS. And auditing to MLS, I knew if INET branded it, older sellers would understand and accept this real estate revolutionizing platform.
You can be the best in your industry like Redefine Realty is. Even revolutionize your industry. Redefine Realty has with auction. Yet it's your story that sells.
You can't tell your story as well as that creative genius will tell your story.
Real estate for winners is exactly what Redefine Realty and auction has always been.
Steven Brand
selling a home. If you don't use Redefine's MLS and auction platform, you'll leave closing with less money than you would have. Tragic and simple.
Websites, branding, design, video, and radio. INET is improving marketing for winners.
INETJustWeb.com.
CreativeGeniusMarketing.com.
Real estate for winners. RedefinedRealty.com.
Life is unpredictable. Estate planning helps your family face the unknown when you are incapacitated or gone. Do you have a will and power of attorney ready? GrieveCivilLaw.com. Plan today, have peace of mind tomorrow.
At Johnson Financial Group, we'll right plan turn your funds into a source of strength, not stress. Whether you're planning for your business, your family, or next to you and your goals, we can open the door to your future and to enjoy more of the things that matter to you today. Customer focus, community commitment, partnership. That's Johnson Financial. Let's plan for more together.
Products and services offered by these Johnson Financial Group companies, Johnson Bank and Johnson Wealth Incorporated.
Your home cleaning friend, Stableman again.
I hope all of you had just a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. I think the highlight of mine was watching my kids and my nieces play last night. It was my brother's birthday, and we all came over after dinner, and obviously the new fallen snow, it was amazing. It just warmed my heart, and I thought life could not get any better than that. And then this morning, Yuengling Beer announced that they are finally going to be selling in Wisconsin. This might be an early Christmas miracle. Yuengling might be my favorite beer. It is the oldest brewery in the United States of America. It's 200 years old. And finally, for the first time next year, it is going to be sold in the United States. Let me just say, it was a glorious day for Dan O'Donnell today. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, the highlight was watching the kids and playing with the kids in the snow. Have a great night, Wisconsin. Back tomorrow.